You're watching the Renaissance Men Live. Now here's your host, Stuart Garrard.
Good evening and welcome to the Renaissance Men Live episode 131. I am your host Stuart Garrard, and joining me this week are my good brothers Seddon, Lacey and Jimmy the Saint. Well, at least I think it's Jimmy the Saint. Trying to see through the blur. Is that you, Jimmy? There's a ridiculous hat on him, so it must be Jimmy.
Sorry.
It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, have I gone 8-bit?
Yes.
Yeah, I think you have. Yes. How are you, Jimmy?
Sorry. I mean, I can't. On mine, I can't even see Lacey. Like, it was nothing there. He's popped up now, but he's blurry on mine. You keep freezing. I don't know what's going on here. I think you guys are right. I think Putin's next victim is the island where I live.
Yep.
We've been affected massively by this already.
How was your week, James?
Yeah, I was trying to think. I've been trying to think if it was good or not, and I think it was. I know. I at one point I thought I was an alcoholic. Okay. Because I realized I'd drunk wine, lots of wine every night, and it was the morning, and I was like, I could go a beer, and I'm making my son's breakfast, and I was like, that's worrying. So that was good. I went to Jungle Adventure with the ladies who latte.
Lovely.
Yes.
How are they all?
That was really. The ladies were good. The lattes were fine, and the kids had a bloody good time.
What more can you ask?
It was my youngest's birthday. He turned 3. So that was fun. We had some good bit of drinking there. And
session.
Yeah, I went to work a bit as well. I think I did some work.
I believe everything you said to this point, and now I'm dubious.
Yeah, me too.
I watched the Saudi Arabia Elimination Chamber of Wrestling. It's not been a bad week. I don't think I've got a funny story to tell, though, actually, in retrospect.
Well, it doesn't happen every week.
Well, I'm just pleased to know that they sell lattes at Jungle Adventure. I'd have thought they'd have sold like kids' drinks and shit rather than lattes, but
fruit shoots.
Good to know.
Yeah.
And I'm just pleased after last week's story that you didn't have a mocker, because that could have been a bad experience in there, couldn't it? You might have had to have your second, third, or fourth poo of the day.
Yes, well, I was very careful of that. Yeah, that was that last week when I told the mocker story about going to the therapist.
Week before, sorry.
Yeah, because the following week I went to the therapist and I needed a wee. Did I tell you about that? I had to lean out the side of my car. Yeah, I knew I couldn't use her toilet again, so I just parked up round the corner and opened my door and just leant my entire body out the car and just I had to wee out the side. I had to wee out the door.
You say you knew you couldn't use her toilet. After that first incident, is it now a lifetime ban on the toilet?
Yeah, that's what it sounds like, doesn't it?
She didn't say that, but I was just like, I can't turn up again, because obviously I had to do a poo the first time. This time it was only a wee, but she'd never believe it was just a wee. She'd go, he's going to shit in my toilet again and block it.
Yeah.
So I had to just wee
the toilet.
Yeah, becomes a dam buster. Yeah.
Well,
good.
Apart from that, yeah, it's been a fun week.
Lovely to have you, Jimmy. As always, Lacey, sir. How are you?
Good day. Not too bad. Usual level of, work sucks. But have been watching lots of Marvel stuff on TV, trying to get it in off the Netflix stuff, to find out that I'll probably be able to watch it all in a couple of weeks anyway, so don't need to, go
calm down. Yep. Yeah.
Watch it on Netflix. Give Netflix the views. Don't give the fucking evil mouse the views.
Yeah, it means that I don't have to spend the next 2 days that I have off.
No, goddamn, you will not sleep for the next 2 days. You will watch Netflix, and that's all you will do.
Yes, Seddon, I will do as I'm told.
But
I was going to use the 2 days to actually, use that wonderful new Marvel subscription that we have for the comic book show to start reading some of that stuff.
Ooh, interesting.
Yes, we've signed up for that Marvel Unlimited. 29,000 comics for us to read by Tuesday. Crack on, Chris. 7 days free trial runs out then.
Yep. All covered in one episode as well.
Yes, yeah.
That is a comic stash and a half, isn't it?
Yeah. It's quite, we kind of tiptoed in coming episodes into the world of like free comic books through Amazon and things like that. And I think it whet our beak for how can we get our grubby little mitts on thousands of comics very, very cheaply.
And especially older stuff.
Yes, yeah.
Well, lovely to have you as well, Lacey. And just going back to Jimmy, let's welcome Holly in the chat. She says Jimmy's stories are the highlight of her week.
That girl's got a bad life, isn't she?
She needs to get out more, is what I'm saying.
It's never been the same since you stopped working with you, Stu.
Yeah. Seddon, how are you, sir?
Oh, can you vamp just for a couple of minutes? I'm just buying a mystery box, all right?
Oh, okay. Well, I'll tell you about my week, shall I?
Thank you.
Yes.
Well, today I've had the week has been fairly standard stuff, but today has been really good. I've been off work, just enjoying the last day of half term with Amanda and Benjamin.
Half term was last week.
No, not for us. It was this week. Yeah, this week in Suffolk. And we went. I know. And we went into town, just mooched about, went to the shops. It was very nice, very pleasant. Had a meal out, which is a novelty these days. And we went to the circus this afternoon. Is that a matinee performance? Is it a matinee?
Yeah, I reckon so.
Yes, it's in the afternoon, yes.
Yeah. And it was very, well, I was being polite and saying it was very good. It was okay. I've never been to a circus before, so I've got no kind of yardstick to measure it by. Have you? Any of you boys gone to a circus before?
Yeah, once. I didn't like it.
Crap ones.
Yeah.
I went when I was young, and it's shit. But I think that seems to be the general rule of thumb.
Okay.
Well, yeah. Well, unless it's followed by the words "de Soleil," they're generally crap.
Or the prefix by Chinese circus. I like that because you get all the acrobatics, don't you? But yeah, a load of shit. Like low rent clowns running around firing water into the crowd. No, I'm not interested.
When your juggler is the funniest thing on your show, that's really besmirching your clown lineup, really, isn't it? The clowns weren't great. Benj loved them, but to be fair, they're probably not targeted at myself, a 40-year-old man. But it was okay. It was just a bit. I don't know. I always kind of had like this illusion that circuses were like mystical kind of places where, like, I don't know, they've got an allure about them. Well, yeah, but when the acrobat is serving you chips before the show, it kind of loses some of that.
Yeah,
it kind of loses some of that magic.
Now that I know they sell chips, though.
Well, yeah, exactly. It kind of. Oh, okay. Oh, you're right. You just served me chips, and now you're up there. Okay, well, fair enough. So yeah, it was a bit lo-fi, a bit. A bit like Jimmy's camera, a bit low rent, low quality.
They've been ruined, though, haven't they? Like horror movies and horror TV shows have made them pretty much unvisitable for me. Like, even though they were shit anyway, but now I just assume that they're all murderers, monsters, or paedophiles. And I've seen nothing to disprove that. Yeah, all three. Yeah.
Well, they did nothing to dissuade that opinion. To be honest, they could have been all three of them.
Really, they were doing all that on stage.
It was called,
and they were juggling at the same time.
Or if you paid you £4.50.
They were. It's called Circus Fantasia.
Yeah, they were juggling rape, pedophiling, and murdering.
It's a tough day for them. That's a tough juggle. That.
Yeah, there we go. So there we go. My first experience of the circus. It wasn't too bad. It was a solid family day out. Gone past the mundane level to solid. So there we go.
This is a love story that will last forever, isn't it? We've gone from mundane to solid, people.
Seddon, have you finished purchasing?
Yes, yeah. Funny enough, it come up to purchase literally the second you said my name, and I went bastards. But yes, a cheeky little purchase is done. And as Chris said, signed up for this Marvel Unlimited Day, and also bought Elden Ring, which I think you also purchased, didn't you, Stu? And now a cheeky little mystery box. I figure I might as well spend all the cash now while I have some, and while we've got a world to spend it in. But I was thinking earlier, when I started on this show, we were in a global pandemic, and we often would make jokes about what's next, end of the world, eh? And well, still on this show, and as we throttled towards World War III at a rapid old pace, but and managed to get another storm in this week as well, didn't we? I can't remember what this one was. Storm, something begin with F, but I can't remember what it was.
Yeah, I think we're up to F now, aren't we?
Yeah.
So yeah. Was it Frederick or Franklin or something?
Franklin.
I like Franklin. I think that's what they should have gone for if they did. But so yeah, generally mundane, Stu, so you'd have liked my week, but mundane mixed in with the absolute absurd things that are going on in the world around me. But yeah, for me, it's been nice and solid.
Well, pleased to have you all.
Am I still here?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I am. Sorry. Everyone keeps pausing my side, so I'm just trying to make sure I'm still online. I've just remembered something that did something sort of funny happen to me this week. Well, don't get your hopes up. I had I had a series of anxiety dreams 3 nights in a row. One night was I robbed a bank with a couple of my friends, and we were being chased by the police, and they threw those nails out in front of us. You know, the nails on the strip, and when you go over, it busts your
the worst thing is they were running. Oh, straight into your feet, that goes. Zola Bud style over no trainers.
Other 2 dreams. Yeah, it's painful. The other 2 dreams were both in a play and not knowing my lines. Has anyone ever had those dreams?
I thought you were going to say, has anyone ever had that happen to him? I went, I've never been in a play, mate, since I was 7.
No, well, whenever I was in plays, because I went to drama school 3 years, I'd make up my lines quite a lot because I'm terrible at remembering lines. As long as I got the gist across, it was fine. But these dreams, I wouldn't know any. 2 nights in a row. One night, I was dressed as a soldier, and I came out, and my friends Davo and Shaw Q were in soldier outfits, and they're doing their lines, and I just walk out on stage, and they look at me, and I'm like, I don't know any of my lines, none of them, and they're like, Jesus, give Jim a script, and they frighten me. And I look at it, I'm like, what character am I? I don't even know who I am in this play. And I was thinking in my head, can I just pass out? Can I just pretend to pass out?
Pretend to die.
Well, with 2 years of drama school training, I imagine you can.
Yeah, of course.
Should be able to, like a pro.
Luckily, I woke up. But 3 nights I've had dreams like that. Like, what have I got to be so anxious about?
Fucking World War III.
The end of the world. Annihilation.
And the fact that I was dressed as a soldier or driving a car at pace away from military police. Yeah, I think it's seeping in, isn't it?
To be fair, the world's fucked if they're going to be calling us up to fight, isn't it? Good luck with that.
Yeah.
I know.
I've still got a note from my mum from PE that I can probably use still to get out of fighting.
Yes.
Yeah, did everyone hear about Klitschko, the mayor of Kiev?
No.
Yeah, him and his brother are going to go take him down.
Well, Vitaly Klitschko is the mayor of Kiev, or Kiev, however you pronounce it. And he was interviewed, and he's like, "What's happening?" You know, he's like, "Well, I'm going to get my army gear on because I'm ex-army and get out there." And there's pictures of him in his gear, ready to go. Imagine if you were Russian running in there with your gun, and you suddenly you run out of bullets against Klitschko, and it's like, right, hand to hand, here we go. Imagine going up against Klitschko in a war, hand to hand, batter you.
Yeah, he would, but probably not much use if he's been nuked, to be honest.
They won't probably nuke.
Right, boys, it's wonderful. Sorry, go on, Lacey, so on.
I was going to say, it's not Ukraine that needs to worry about being nuked because it's too close to Russia for the fallout.
Yeah.
The rest of us.
Yeah.
They're
the safest ones from the nukes, yeah. Not going to nuke their own doorstep, are they?
If this is
Don't shit on your own doorstep.
Yeah.
If this is your first time here, please hit those like and subscribe buttons. But let's kick off the show in traditional style by taking some questions from the Cult of Egg in our Ask Us Anything segment. And little Leo Thacker has provided us with a question this week. And he asks, is a hot dog a sandwich? Discuss. Hot dog.
No.
I don't know. Is the honest answer. I don't actually know what makes a sandwich, but I kind of don't want it to be. I like the idea that it's something of its own, that it's something different.
Well, if
to a
something's in a
sandwich.
roll,
yeah,
if something's in a roll, it can't be a sandwich, can it be?
No, because the premise of the sandwich is the 2 bits of bread. The roll is 1 piece of bread cut in half. That's not a sandwich.
Oh, I like that. And in that way, it makes
bread's
the hot
a part
dog
of a
special.
loaf, isn't it?
Well, I mean, there's a bit of meat sandwiched between 2 sides of a roll.
Bread, yeah.
So I think it's a sandwich. By definition alone, it's a sandwich.
I was going to say you don't butter it, so it's not. But then I think about the amount of sandwiches that I have that I don't butter because I can't be asked to get the butter out. If it's got any moistness to the ingredient inside, it no longer needs butter.
Yeah.
In America, don't they have hot meat sandwiches, like where you go and you get like minced meat in bread.
Ew.
Hot, and you have a sausage sandwich.
Corn dog. No, I'm thinking chili dog.
I feel like a sausage sandwich is different to a hot dog, but really,
it's a good point.
Exactly.
It's just the bread, isn't it? Really, like the type of bread that makes it different. Yeah,
and that's the reason why a hot dog is not a sandwich.
And in the same, but like with a burger, again, like it is effectively 2 bready bits with some meat in between. But I don't think of that as a sandwich either.
Interesting. The great debate.
The great debate. Oh, it's been going on since caveman times.
It's the hot dog sandwich. Yeah.
Do you reckon he's asking because you think there's some tax implication to this? Is this like Jaffa cakes being biscuits or cakes again? The great debate.
The only way I see it as a reason for wanting to know is when you get home and you're pretending you're on a bit of a diet kick, and your missus or Mister says, "What do you have for lunch?" And you already had a sandwich.
Yeah.
When you actually had like a full-on hot dog or a hamburger.
Yeah.
I had a sandwich and potato. Sandwich and potato bits.
Good shout. Yeah. Possibly. I don't think we have answered that, and I don't think we will continue to answer that. I think that's
smart men and us have tried, haven't they?
Yeah, I think they have. Bonus question here. I didn't see this earlier. From an Emma Carr. She asks, what meal or food have you seen in a movie that you would most like to try or has inspired you to try it? Ooh. What meal? I've always wondered what the blue milk from Star Wars tasted like. And now you can.
Or that one straight from the teat of the animal from
that's the one.
Episode 8, was it?
Who cares?
Yeah. I'd drink it straight from the teat. I don't know, food-wise.
I don't know. There's lots of like the American like fast food stuff. Whenever they sort of go into that, they look like really good. And then because obviously I see a bit of American TV with like watching the wrestling and stuff. Because the AEW ones that I get are the American feeds. You get the American adverts, and you see like Sonic and Taco Bell and Wendy's and all these sort of places. And I'm like, love to hit up all of them, but that's just because I'm fat and they look really fatty, greasy burgers.
Yeah.
You could get a burger for movies. You could go into the Kevin Smith.
There it is.
SQ-verse, yeah.
Yeah.
I want a cow tipper.
I want
Big Kahuna from Pulp Fiction.
Oh yeah, Big Kahuna from Pulp Fiction. That's a good shout. Me, anything from Willy Wonka's. I was fascinated by that, and I always wished that those things existed, especially the everlasting gobstopper. I love the idea of that, and the drink that makes you burp and hiccup so you can fly up and down. But that kind of doesn't lean into the and have you tried it? Because I do realise those things aren't real, but I kind of want to eat stuff that isn't real from the movies.
And I suppose if you start licking wallpaper, people are going to ask questions.
If I start looking at it again, Chris, I think is the term I use there.
Well, I think this question, that's my wife who asked the question, if people don't know. Mrs. the Saint. That question, I think, sort of came out of a show that we watched the other night where a good friend of mine, Martin O'Dell, who is known as the Lagom Chef, and he's trying to do like these YouTube videos. He is an actual chef, which is all to do with food waste and not wasting food, and the amount of food that Britain wastes is disgraceful. Throw so much away. So he was on Jamie Oliver's latest show, which is competition to get a cook.
Mr. Chili.
Well, he doesn't talk a lot on it. He doesn't talk a lot.
Tongued cunt.
Yeah, I think that's what it was called. Competition.
I've always been waiting for his cookbook called that. That's the first and the only one I'll ever buy.
Well, my friend Martin said he was an absolute lovely bloke. And anyway, he did cauliflower 3 ways. You would have loved it, Seddon. Cauliflower 3 ways. Used the entire cauliflower. But there was a woman on there. And her idea.
In the ear.
There was a lady on there, and her concept for this cookbook, because it's like, the winner got a cookbook made, was food from the movies, but it had to be an Oscar winner, and in the book would have like a little review of the film as well. Quite wanky. She didn't do well, but her inspired meal was from the film Crash, and not the one where they fuck each other's cuts from having a car accident. The one with Ben Affleck where he fingers an Asian woman that he pulls over as a cop. Won an Oscar. But she made tacos.
I was to say, what was the food from that? Like, I don't remember food in it, but
she made tacos with Ben Affleck's fingers in it. No, she made tacos with different parts of Asian and I think Mexican and different inspired stuff, because the film is about all different, people from different ethnicities or countries or whatever coming together, apparently. But the person said to her, "These tacos are lovely. Did I eat tacos in the film?" And she's like, "No. It just has to be inspired. It just has to be inspired by the film." And me and the wife were like, "What the fuck? Like, at least do something from the film, like Big Kahuna Burger from Pulp Fiction. That would be something you'd go for." So yeah, there's or Bubba Gump shrimp.
You say she's got a book. It's not a good advert for a book, is it? I've done a book where I've just cooked whatever the fuck I wanted and pretended that it was inspired by a movie.
But just to get my film critic career going.
No, she didn't win, but it was literally just like, I'll think of a meal and then I'll try and stick it to an Oscar film, a film that's got an Oscar in whatever I guess you could do, a lot of crap. But one thing that I always want to eat when I watch Forrest Gump is shrimp. Looking at Lacey now is getting me hungry for shrimp.
Lieutenant Dan! Butterbeer. That's another. I've just looked on the website. That's one you can actually sample.
We've had it, haven't we?
We had
it in Potterland.
My wife said dry ramen from Squid Games. In Squid Games where they eat the ramen without actually putting in the water. That's a proper snack they have in Korea. So she's
like a dry pot noodle.
Yeah, it doesn't sound very appealing.
More dry super noodle, but
yeah, just chomping on a super noodle brick. Yeah, delicious.
I remember watching an episode of Soldier back in the day. Do you remember with Robson and Jerome?
Had you lost your remote control?
Or the
was the TV stuck on one channel?
You cannot mock Robson and Jerome.
I fucking can.
Since one of them was in Game of Thrones.
Doesn't matter. They were shit. Soldier.
And the other one catches river monsters.
One of my worst working experiences was working in Safeway the year that they released a fucking album. And they never played music in that store until Robson and Jerome released an album. And they repeated that they put on repeat. 10 hours a day I worked in that place. Fucking hated it.
How did you survive?
Just by abusing customers generally and boxing with raw chickens on our hands in the stockroom.
Holly here says that butterbeer is rank.
I really liked it. I was a big
No, she
fan.
says Butterbear is rank.
Well,
Yeah,
to be fair,
I haven't tried
she does correct us.
Butterbear.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
no,
quite
wanted
liked
Butterbear.
butterbeer when I was there. I didn't like how much I had to fucking pay for it, but
No.
I liked the taste of it.
There was that.
Yeah, it wasn't worth the 15 quid it was for two of them.
For two mouthfuls, pretty
You
much
get to keep
as well.
the cup though. You get to
Yeah,
keep the
but
cup.
it's tiny.
In a cheap, tiny plastic cup.
Yeah. Mm.
I'm not sure I've got my cup
Modern
anywhere.
Family. Whenever I watch Modern Family, it makes me want to drink wine because they're pretty much constantly drinking wine.
There we go. Yeah,
Is
so
it a bar rescue then, because they've always got beer on the go.
In what?
In bar rescue, they're always drinking. Always pubs.
Bar rescue.
I've never heard of bar rescue. What is
Am I
this
still here?
phenomenon?
Yes,
Yes, you are still here, Jimmy.
you're just going to ask that every 15 minutes.
Yeah,
basically,
because
this
I haven't
guy
finished my
goes around-
soldier story. I'll come back to it.
Oh shit!
God.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Sorry.
Yeah, bar rescue. Basically, this guy goes around failing bars in America and fixes them up to make them
Yeah.
successful.
Oh, okay. So, like what Ramsey does for restaurants.
Yeah.
Is he as much of a prick?
Yes,
Okay.
he is
I'm out
a
then.
grade A
I'm out.
cunt, but it's a hilarious grade A cunt.
I have to do a show on a Friday night with 3 grade A cunts. I don't want to watch them on telly and all.
Right. Two things.
So
I'm a
Soldier,
big fan of
mate.
Gordon Ramsay. I like
Soldier.
Gordon. Well, I'll go back to Soldier. I just want to say something else. Me and the wife went for lunch today, and
Dry ramen.
she had pork.
Mm.
No, she had pork,
Did she
and
now?
she's not a fan of undercooked meat. She hates mine. Undercooked meat, and her pork was still a bit pink because you can serve pork pink, and it was a very, very good restaurant. But McDonald's, you heard of it? But she wasn't happy with it, and I said,
Crimpy.
"Oh, I'll tell them." But she doesn't like to complain, like lots of people don't.
No.
And then I told them, they took it away, cooked it, brought it back, and I said to her, because people always say, "Oh, Jim, you love to complain." I don't love, and I said, I don't love to complain. I want to get what I'm paying for. If if it should be done how we want it and properly. And then I said, actually, I do like complaining when what I say is, can you go and ask the chef to taste that for me? And I've picked that up from Gordon's kitchen nightmares because I had a bit of a stint. Do you remember where I was watching it like every day? And I'd go to a restaurant and get something, and if it was shit, I'd go, can you get a chef to try that for me? And I did enjoy that. Anyway, Soldier.
Sorry, before
One
you go into
episode, they're out on the
Soldier,
movies.
before you go to Soldier, I want to pick up. I'm not a complainer, and I can't complain about food. And I tell you what you said there about it's undercooked, and you let them take it back and cook it some more. Never in a million years. I would go, I'm not paying and I am leaving. That is how I would deal with that, because exactly what you demonstrated there. Because I know if I worked in there, I would probably do something like that to your meal. And if I said to, if I was the chef and you said, can you get the chef to try that? I would take a bite of it. I would chew it a bit. I would gob it back on the plate and I'd send it back out to you.
Like a baby bird.
Well, aren't we lucky that you're not a chef?
Have you ever seen the film Waiting? Because
No.
that would tell you exactly what happened. One of Ryan Reynolds' early films. It's all about a pub kitchen. And it's very on the nose.
I just think if you don't
Well,
like it,
I would
get
just
the
say
fuck
we
out
were
of
in
my
a-
restaurant.
We were in a Michelin restaurant, so it's a good
Even more
restaurant.
of a
so I'm
fucking
hoping they're
nerve.
not
They know what they're doing,
pissing-
mate.
pissing in the soup.
Well, they should do.
Yeah.
All we asked was for the pork to be cooked a little bit more
And if I
because
was the
my
chef,
wife
I'd
doesn't
say,
like.
Wipe my ass with
I'm a
it.
Michelin star trained chef. You'll have it how it's fucking given, because I trained for years to make this properly for you. And if you
This is
don't
how it
like
should
it,
be.
go to fucking Wimpy.
Wimpy.
Go get a pork bender on.
Blimey.
Yep.
I'm never going for lunch with Seddon. I mean, you're the worst person in both cases of those scenarios. You're the worst chef and you're the worst customer Because you wouldn't even say, "Can you do this again?"
I'd just say, "I'm not paying."
Chef would have a go at you. You'd have a terrible fight, the pair of you.
Well, Stu, you've experienced me live of when they don't have the thing on the menu I want. Yep. You don't ask for something else. You just get a bowl of chips and move on.
Bowl of chips. That's one of my most endearing Seddon memories. Is him just.
The waiter was shocked, wasn't he? He was just like, because I asked for something, like whatever it was, and they were out. So I said, I'll just have a bowl of chips then. And he was just like, what? And I went, I'll just have a bowl of chips. He went, well, don't you want anything else? And I went, no, I wanted that thing that you ain't got. So I'll just have chips. And he just kept standing there. And I was just like, Jesus, man, just get me my chips. Let's not make a big deal out of this.
Let's not make a big deal of it. Just get me my chips and get a tin of beans, empty out the juice, pour in ketchup and pour that on top of the chips.
Oh, that'd be nice, wouldn't it? That'd be nice. But no, never, Jimmy, I wouldn't do that. Never go off menu. If it's not on the menu, you don't get it. You only order what's on there and you take it as it's given. And if you don't like one of the bits on the plate, that's on you.
I had a lovely steak. But that said, soldier.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
I've tried to kill this story a couple of times.
Come on.
They were on manoeuvres and one of them had got lost and he was starving. It had been days. And he found his way to a farm. I think it was Robson or Jerome. And he found his way to a farm and they had potatoes. And he was like, oh, God. And he ate this raw potato. And he was so happy to be eating this raw potato because he hadn't eaten for days. And that really made me want to try a raw potato because it looked like he enjoyed it so much. I guess I need to go on manoeuvres first.
Why didn't he bake it? Fucking idiot. It's supposed to be a trained soldier.
Because he stole it.
Start a small fire, stick through it, over the top, baked potato.
That story was well worth waiting for. Fuck.
It reminds me of something else you said before about eating a raw onion.
Yes. Who was that? Was that Jimmy?
That was Jimmy as well.
Was Jimmy, yeah.
Fucking hell, mate. Yeah. Iron innards saint. The saint.
I'm not going to talk anymore.
We love you. Welcome to Colin Doolan in the chat. Oi, oi. Oi, oi, indeed. Welcome, Colin. Okay, let's move on to the Week in Geek. And I guess there's only one place we could probably start. Although this has changed, I have seen.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's out of date news.
Yeah,
isn't it?
We do have an update to our live breaking news. So Russia originally they were still being allowed to compete in the this year's Eurovision Song Contest, but alas,
they were facing the most stringent sanctions the West has ever done on a country, except for you can have the Eurovision entry still.
Yeah, they are allowed now to. No, they're not allowed now to compete. They were, but now they're not. So Russia have been booted, quite rightly, from the Eurovision Song Contest.
Just a couple of bad tracks the last few years, Jimmy. Just not up to snuff, mate.
Athlete doping.
Also, Russian Grand Prix, that's binned off. Champions League final, that's binned off.
Football's been moved.
I did. One of the things that really threw me on, and I think it was Monday, it was the day that they first moved into any of the territories. And I was following it a bit during the day, and there was lots of political talk about sanctions, about this, about that. And I wish I'd written down his name. Some fucking dickhead stood up in the House of Parliament and said, oh, yeah, and what we're going to do about the Champions League final. And I did think to myself, get a grip, mate. People are dying and you care about the Champions League final, and you've had your chance. You know, everyone's on telly. They've all said very interesting questions, and that's what you've got. But fucking idiots. Fucking idiots.
Well, they wanted to make light of the situation. I know, go on, what's Trumpy been saying?
Well, guess what Trump said?
He was all about it, wasn't he?
And it's wonderful and it's great.
What did he call?
Did he not say Putin was a wonderful man or something like that?
Yeah, like a tactical genius or something.
Yeah, well, first of all, he said it wouldn't have happened if I was in power. And yeah, he said he said he was a genius. Said there was a lot of good land in Ukraine. Yeah, smart guy.
The problem is that Trump has been wrong about pretty much everything for at least his life, and this is the first time he's ever got something right, because this is a tactically genius move. Like, he's actually right with that. It's fucking horrible, but tactically, it is genius. And
it feels like it's years in the making as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, at least 20 years in the making.
Yeah, it feels like he's been plotting like a Game of Thrones move.
The thing is, though, is
he always looks like he's plotting, doesn't he?
I dispute he's been plotting like a Game of Thrones move, because everyone knew he was going to be doing it for 20 years, and everyone just crossed their fingers and hoped he wouldn't. And now he has. And
yeah, fair play.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. George R.R. Martin did hold his cards closer to his chest.
What was you going to say, Stu? You not?
Well, no, I don't want us to come across as we are making light of a horrendous situation, but I think the news is horrendous enough, so we have taken our wry eye across the situation, and obviously it's appalling and shocking and horrendous, but
What have you got? Some funny memes?
Come on, Jimmy. You know we don't know what they are.
Got some Ukrainian bad news.
Picture,
yeah. Just you wait for the bad news. It's Ukrainian themed. No, it's not really. Yeah, terrible news. But yeah, at least the Eurovision is, got some morals.
Still on. It kind of doesn't feel real. Yeah, I think that's why. Still, for me, I can make kind of light of it because it doesn't feel real. Well, I was looking at videos earlier of premature babies in the underground parts of hospitals because they can't be on top of the hospitals. They can't be in their fucking incubators. They're all laid out on sheets on the floor. You're like, what the fuck? How is this happening in 2022 in what's supposed to be civilized, countries?
That's something I've said quite a lot. Is it a massive surprise? No, but I still think it's amazing in the bad way that in 2022, as you say, Jimmy, we still live in a world where stuff like this can happen, and it just feels like it's so out of time now, doesn't it? And to be honest, I think we've been coveted. I think we've buried our heads in the sand and thought the world's become a better place, and we were wrong.
Sadly, we were.
It is the ultimate history repeating itself, because if you think giant financial crash, pandemic, war, remind you of the 1920s.
I lived through them. Yeah, but
I wasn't there. Seddon.
I was wearing Jimmy's hat. I was wearing Jimmy's hat back
then. Let's move on to some happier news. Okay, now who picked these?
Sorry, that I actually picked this. I picked the first one less about Russia, more because I know we all love the Eurovision. The next one I picked because at least one of us on this show does love one of the people that's involved in this story.
Okay, so do you want to pick it up then, Seddon? It's Marilyn Manson trailer release.
No, I don't want to touch it with a basketball, but I put it on there for you. But it's Evan Rachel Wood's documentary on the abuse allegations, isn't it? And I think
Phoenix Rising.
Yeah, and we are kind of now very much barreling forward now with this. Although it is a kind of an oddity, isn't it, that it's things are done in the court of a documentary or a TV show now more than a court of law.
So I think this is where you want me to sort of go on about Maz.
Oh no, it was more because I thought you might be interested in it. That was all. I wasn't kind of trying to gauge you to go on a big Marilyn Manson defence for. I just thought it might be of interest.
Go on.
Yeah, defend him. Go on.
With Brian, he had an autobiography out in 98, 99, which in it he clearly retails stories of sexual misconduct with fans, because these fans at that point were so fucking in love with him and so enamored by him, he could do what the fuck he wanted. There were a pair of girls called the Twins that one of them carved Marilyn into her chest, the other one carved Manson into her chest. They went around to every single show on a whole US tour, got backstage, and he thought it was fun to get them to recarve it every night in front of him. There was a deaf girl that he put cold slabs of meat on her head, spaffed in her ear, saying, "I want to come in your useless ear canal." This is stuff that was in his own autobiography.
What happened? I switched away from the. Where did Stu go?
It's the Marilyn Manson talk.
As I say, was it?
He's gone to stick a piece of meat on Amanda's head and come in her ear.
Did he leave at the term spaff? So I was looking at the show notes quickly.
Yeah, he just went, that sounds like a good idea.
Yeah. I've got a bit of ham left over from lunch that didn't go in the sandwich.
Or a hot dog. I don't know if it's a sandwich or not. So
yeah.
It's a thing with Maz. He's had it for so long that people will quite happily let him do his sexual versions, and it's fine.
You're right, Steve.
Yes.
His sense of what is normal is that he can basically do what the fuck he wants sexually and depravity-wise. And now people are like, well, no, you can't do that, and talking out about it. It's like people that have read his stuff and know shit from years ago going, well, he's been doing this all the time. The difference is the people that he used to do it with were fangirls that were happy for the attention of Marilyn Manson. He's now doing it to actual, famous people that have come out and gone, well, no, this isn't right. It's never been right.
Right.
But he was able to get away with it because the girls that he was doing it to were so fucking enamored that they thought it was fine because they were trying to please the star that was, their god at the time.
It's going to be on HBO, isn't it? So I presume over here that would mean probably a Sky Atlantic release, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Like, there's been a spate of them, hasn't there? Of these kind of looks at what happens in celebrity world and celebrity life, and it does seem to be almost seems to be the new kind of true crime. We a couple of years ago we had that real push for true crime shows, and this seems to be the new thing, doesn't it? Like with the Pam and Tommy. I know that's an acted one rather than that, but it certainly seems the way that entertainment's going at the moment. The kind of gross, I guess the equivalent of the Dark Side of the Ring, but for Hollywood, isn't it? But yeah, I don't know. I probably for me it would be a no watch when it comes on. I think once you've kind of heard the stories, I don't feel like I need to see it shown again. Well, I don't need to hear it done on TV. But...
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you separate the man from the art, Lacey? Karen, listening to him? Do you like him enough?
I have a Marilyn Manson tattoo.
Oh.
Can you separate the tattoo from the man?
I could, but it means I'll lose my leg.
Yeah.
Have you carved his name into your chest?
No. The thing is, it's one of those of, as I said, I read the book back in the day. I've known of these things.
That's what
for the
encouraged
past
the tattoo.
25 bloody years. I've known about the sort of thing that he was up to. It is.
Yeah.
It is fucking awful, and he should never have been able to get away with what he has. But I can split the art from the artist because the character and the stage persona of what he is and was, especially at the time when I was going through a lot of shit when I was younger and my parents were splitting up, that Marilyn Manson persona and the fuck you attitude of, at that point was to religion was perfect for what I needed to get me through my parents' divorce. So there is always going to be that bit of me that's like, I can separate that. It's like I can still watch Chris Benoit matches. I know he's a fucking psychopathic murderer, but I can still watch them.
I think.
Do I revere him in the way that I did as a kid? No, but that stopped when I was about 18 and realised, no, he's a prick, and fuck it.
I think I liked it when it was a persona, though, like you say. But I think once you realised it wasn't a persona and that was the man, that's when I went, nah, not for me then, thanks. Although it has got a couple of banging tunes, unfortunately. But yeah, they won't be on my rotation, and haven't been for a while, except for when they did the theme music for The Decay in TNA, and I couldn't avoid that because I wanted to watch TNA. But,
yeah, that tattoo on your leg, Lacey, reminds me of when I saw a newspaper article where a white van driver had a tattoo of Graham Norton, but didn't know he was gay at the time, and was furious when he found out he had a full Graham Norton face on his leg.
That's hilarious.
Well, I didn't know he was gay at the time. I just really like Graham Norton.
I really hope the tattoo artist did like the eyes, so they were looking up at his bollocks. That would have been amazing, wouldn't it?
Oh dear, that is funny. Next up, we have this is a strange story. Colin Farrell has been speaking about his time filming the latest Batman film, and he's portraying the Penguin. And he's come out and said that the studio, Warner Brothers, wouldn't let the Penguin smoke.
Yep.
Pretty bizarre. I mean, my image of the Penguin is big, long. He
always had one on the go, didn't he?
Yeah. That is strange. That's a sign of the times, isn't it? I guess. Well,
again, I don't know whether it's it's based off of not wanting to encourage smoking, or whether it's a bit of we don't want to get sued by people on set if they kind of make some sort of claims. But yeah, it just seems like an odd world we live in, that it still exists, doesn't it? Like, and again, I am a smoker, and this isn't like a pro smoking rant, but I just think, well, while it still exists and it's still legal, like you kind of have to show it in films and stuff. And if you're going to put kids off, make the villain do it. And like Penguin's not exactly kind of an appealing villain, is he? Like I don't see a lot of kids going around hero worshipping Penguin from Batman 66 and onwards. So actually, it seems like a good idea that you'd make him smoke.
Yeah, and I've seen the trailers where Batman is ploughing his fist into some bloke's
That's fine.
face.
That's fine. That's fine.
That's fine.
I'd
rather my kid had a few cheeky puffs on a cigarello with a nice big holder than punching the shit out of someone.
Yeah. Burgess Meredith with a cigarello. That is the image of the Penguin for me.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, top hat, all fancy, done up, cigarello.
That's really weird. That's fucking ridiculous.
That is sad, as I say. Sadly, I think a sign of the times. But yeah, very strange, very strange. Are we hyped for that film? I don't know. Trying to gauge the room on this.
I foolishly this week saw some early reviews of it as well, and I'm even more hyped for it now.
Ooh, were they good? Glowing?
I went to see Spider-Man on Wednesday night on my own, didn't I? I went on my own to cinema, and what was
just as Delboy Trotter for some reason. I don't really understand that bit, but
yeah,
I thought it was a cosplaying cinema.
And Jerome. I had a raw potato as a snack, and I was watching Spider-Man on my own. And at the start, it said these trailers have been deemed appropriate for the audience. First one was Batman. The next one was Downton Abbey.
Yeah,
so very similar.
The fuck. But the Batman trailer, I watched it, and I was like, "Ooh, this does look fun."
I think that one
will be Nolan.
That'll be the one that gets me back to the cinema. I think that'll be the movie.
When's it out?
It's March, isn't it? But I can't remember what date in March.
I think it's the 8th. I think it's next weekend. I think it might come out. But yeah, no, it's one of those. I saw the original release trailer, the whole sort of announcement one. That was all I needed to see. I'm in. I haven't watched any trailers or spoilers or anything since, because as my rule of why I didn't watch the Doctor Strange one last week, I know I'm going to see it, so I don't want spoilers. I want to go and see it.
Sorry, mate, I spelt it. The Penguin don't smoke.
Oh! Right, let's get going.
That Batman trailer it's more like the trailer for just a thriller, isn't it? Like all the Marvel trailers are, where's the big reveal? Who's going to pop up? Whereas this was just like, it's a trailer for a Batman movie. Like, just looked good, exciting.
Whilst we're talking superheroes, I just want to skip ahead a story, so forgive me. And there was confirmation this week that the Netflix Marvel TV shows were certainly heading to Disney Plus in Canada so far, which suggests that, I guess, when certain other rights issues are cleared and other deals are cleared, that they probably will end up at Disney Plus elsewhere as well. So, which is what people thought, to be fair. Any issues with this?
Hell yeah.
Seddon, I am kind of gazing over to.
I mean, like, if Netflix ain't getting a sack of cash for this, then there's something really gone wrong in the world. So,
does seem a bit harsh on them, doesn't it?
Well, you know, like, for all of the Marvel TV shows there are 5 really great ones, and only one of them has been made by Disney, and now they're going to have those other 4 on their channel. It sickens me. So I hope Netflix are getting fat cash for this. And you know, the sad thing for me is that actually I think it will probably bring a lot more eyes on this product than they were getting on Netflix, because I think people will go,
true.
Oh, it wasn't canon, so I won't watch it. And now it's on Disney, they'll go, it's canon, I'll watch it. And I'll go, it's a fucking good, it's either a good TV show or it isn't a good TV show. And some of them are, just watch them, you pricks.
That sounds like something I'd say.
It does. I was channeling my inner you.
Yeah, I'm all over him now.
But it's like, but again, I mean, I don't know whether the timing is really as it is. And I haven't watched Spider-Man anymore, but there's certain things that I think you couldn't avoid. But it almost feels like they weren't interested in having it until they went, oh, we'll stick one of those characters in the movie, or Kingpin in Hawkeye. Oh, actually, let's go and get this really well-made stuff, because we are not very good at making our own TV shows. So let's go and get some stuff someone else made.
Yeah. Do you know, one just on a slight tangent is there's a lot of news this week about Spider-Man, and it's, you know, it's home release, you know, Blu-rays and streaming and stuff. And do you know, there's a flagrant amount of spoilers out there. People are very loose with the spoilers now. I know it's been, you can't really avoid it these days, but it just seems a bit odd that, you know, the studios themselves are just posting out certain pictures that spoil certain aspects of that film.
Now I realise I'm stepping into a minefield here, but what if they put out that spoils stuff? Bearing in mind I'm the only one who hasn't seen it.
Well, I wouldn't like
right. Lacey, have you seen it? Yeah.
I wouldn't like to say.
3 times.
Go on, just spoil it, mate. I'll probably know it anyway, because I think that's the kind of the point I wanted to kind of get to. Is I don't think there are spoilers anymore. I think everything's covered now, isn't it?
Things happened that I didn't know were going to happen, so I still there were still spoilers for me.
I will
things that weren't spoiled. Yeah,
shocked if when I finally see it that I don't know everything that's going to happen because of Spoilerland.
Yeah,
but also because a lot of it's very telegraphed, isn't it? Like watching the trailer, you know 90% of what's going to happen.
Yeah. Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
I just thought it was a bit. It was just very strange that official channels were very loose with, you know, the spoilers. You know, so soon after release, but just a passing.
I do wonder what it's going to end up on, because it's not going to be. It's not going to go to Disney, is it? It goes to Amazon first, I think.
Yeah. Because
it's a Sony one, they don't get Disney don't get the initial showing rights. But yeah, I can't remember Amazon or Netflix though.
Well, there's no. I'm right in thinking there's no Spider-Man films on Disney Plus, is there? At all? They're on Netflix.
No,
I think. Funnily enough.
But I don't think they went on. I don't think they went on Netflix first. I think Amazon got them first, and I think Netflix got second bite of the cherry. I think.
Second dibs.
I don't think all of them are even on Netflix. I think it's one of those that they've got 1 and 3 and Amazing 2, but they don't have.
Yeah,
Spider-Man
very
2
strange.
Amazing Spider-Man 1.
Cool, that's the one you want, isn't it? Amazing 2 on there. Jesus.
But I think they're on now because obviously they get shown on Sky Movies all the time.
Yeah.
So I think they end up keeping hold of a lot of stuff for a while anyway.
Yeah. So we're on Netflix. We have got Spider-Man: Homecoming, Spider-Man 1, Spider-Man, the Amazing Spider-Man, the Amazing Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man 3. No Spider-Man. No, No Spider-Man 2.
That's odd.
Weird.
Well, why would you watch that? Just skip forward to number 3. Banger.
But the Spider-Man rights are just weird.
Spider-Man 2 is. I think they are all on there.
In fact, while we're here, can we do a bit of a shameless plug-in for a
go on? Yes, please do.
Worst 5 comic book movies. That is, Chris, help me here. When's that out? Is it out? Sunday. I can't remember which.
This week.
I couldn't remember which order we recorded them in, but yes. So on Sunday, we'll be going into some atrocities. Oh no, it's Civil War this week, actually, isn't it?
Oh yeah, Civil War this week. It's next week's shit movies.
Yeah. Nice.
Excellent. So we'll talk about some of those movies you've just mentioned, I'm sure.
And many more.
What are you on about?
Yeah.
The Marvel TV shows from Netflix seemingly moving to Disney Plus, so take a look out for those. So like you say, Lacey, no big rush. Take your time.
Crack on, Lacey. I want them done by the end of the weekend.
I've done 3 seasons series so far.
You've done well, mate. You have done well.
Well, I know you're going to touch on it later, but are you gonna? What's next for you? What's the next one up for you to watch?
Next one is Luke Cage.
Yes, I was hoping you were going to say that. I bloody love that.
Because I'm doing them in the correct release order as well. So
good.
Right, moving on. We've got to wrap up the news. Aside from Seddon's lovely segment, it's some wrestling news for you. And Cesaro reportedly gone from WWE. Is this confirmed yet?
Yeah. He
it's confirmed.
Contract ended and left.
No 90-day no compete. We get Claudio Castagnoli back very soon somewhere.
Yeah, he was originally scheduled to be at Friday's SmackDown in Hershey, Pennsylvania, but he will not be there as he's no longer with the company. He's quietly left his, as you say, left his contract to expire, as reported by PW Insider. So Cesaro is free.
I mean, I think I love him. Like I think his in-ring work is brilliant. I know people kind of criticize his mic work, but I think he's criticised by people who don't understand that some people have accents because they actually speak other languages as their primary language. But yeah, it probably isn't his strongest bit. But going right way back to his pre-WWE days as well, I think he's always just been great in the ring, and I think underutilised in WWE because I don't necessarily think he was someone who was a world champ or should have been pushed to that, but that boy, whenever he was in a match with someone, he always made the other person look good as well. And I think just shamefully not used enough in that top end of the card to elevate people up. But can't wait to see what he does next, and I hope he does some more wrestling. I really do.
I'm hoping that him
I was
and
discussing
Hero
this
turn up together and we get the Kings of Wrestling back.
I'd like that.
I was discussing this with Colin Doolan the other day. Might have been yesterday. Listener of the show. We was like, how do you push someone like Cesaro? Because you've just said there you couldn't see him at the top of WWE. Why is that? Like, he speaks 5 different languages. He's a good-looking guy. He's smooth. How do you push someone like Cesaro? I mean, like my favourite time with him was, as you say, Chris, when he was in a tag team with Chris Hero, Kings of Wrestling, and I think that actually worked very, very well for him. And oddly, I don't think you could do this again, but in Chikara, the Comedy Wrestling Federation, he was pretty much the head of a stable in that, and he did come across very well, but it was a European stable. So they lent into his accent and they lent into that, kind of possibly what you would, or what WWE would do with Walter. But I think sometimes people are that good that you almost don't want them at the top of the card. You want them in that upper middle part because you want them to be able to make the mid cards look strong and the main eventers look strong. And I don't know. And he always seemed he seemed to have a lot of humility. He seemed to be like, yes, that's kind of what I'm here to do. He probably doesn't have the arrogance that I think you probably need to be a main eventer in wrestling.
The man, the myth.
I felt like...
The man, the myth, the legend.
I felt like I can take him seriously quite often.
DLB there saying that if AEW don't sign Claudio immediately, they're missing a trick. Hello, Midnight Slider. Love you.
I don't know if they will, because I agree.
Where do you think he'll go?
You think he'd be an obvious? Well, you think he'd be an obvious choice for AEW, but I think they're trying to slow down on the amount of people they're bringing on now.
Tony Khan's been very clear, hasn't he? He said they've got a limit of their pay bill, haven't they? And he's not going to break that limit for anyone. And of course, I think if you do that, then to get someone in, someone has to go out the door. And I think they're trying to not do that too much. But I guess they've probably opened up a bit of cash with Cody.
WWE,
I mean, I'd love him to. I mean, money's going to be an issue because they obviously can't afford to pay that. But I'd love to see him go back to ROH when that reopens. I'd love to see them build a company around some of their old stars and actually try and reinvigorate ROH to what it used to be. And I could see him caring enough about ROH to want to do it. I think he is that kind of guy where it wouldn't all be about the cash for him. But that's what I'd like to see.
The thing is, I'm trying to think anywhere that's like a real workers federation.
Oh, MLW would be nice.
MLW, I could see him doing NWA and just actually sort of going in and putting on
European uppercutting the shit out of everyone.
Yeah, but this was the problem because something like the IC belt or the US belt used to be in the old days the workers belt, and you knew you'd get good matches with them. Because it's basically been watered down so much because of the two fucking world titles and the way that the Fed is booked that, you know, you drop a title after 2 weeks just because. If he'd have been in the 90s, he would have been that Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart level, Mr. Perfect level of Intercontinental Champion, where you knew if you were going on the split touring roster like they used to, you'd have Hogan on one show as your main event and your IC title match as the main event of the other show, you're always going to go with the one that the fucking IC title is on because you know you're going to get good fucking wrestling.
Yeah, he would have been the foreign heel though, wouldn't he?
Back then he would have. Yeah, unfortunately, yeah. And I think that's sad as it is. I think that's where like Vince probably could never really get his head around him probably being a face because of that. Because inherently, anyone who's not American is evil, I think, in that man's eyes. And yeah.
Did you see what DRB put here? What to do with him? What they've done with Roman, Flair, Triple H, etc.
Building empire.
I think with Roman, I mean, he's nowhere near as good in the ring as Cesaro is, but he's probably better at delivering one-line statements than Cesaro is. And I think that's the truth of wrestling for many a generation, isn't it? Is that rarely is it the best workers that are at the top of the card. It's normally the people who, it's the people who Vince likes, but it's the people who are more likely to get over on the mic than in the ring, I guess.
And it also helps.
I said the same thing that you. I said the same thing that you said, Seddon, to Colin about a Walter / Gunther character. You know, that's where you could see him being that heel, and you could see him in Imperium. Like he could easily slot into that stable. But then, are you going to turn him into a star? I think he is a forever mid carder, really, isn't he?
I mean, the one time when I thought something might happen was when they put him with Heyman all those years ago. You know, they put him as a Heyman guy, and then of course you've got the built-in mouthpiece that American audiences are more used to. But yeah, just for me, you know how I feel about WWE these days, and I think other than the cash money that it brings them, guaranteed monthly, I think most of them are better off out of it creatively and probably career-wise.
Okay, there we go. Sad to see him go, but opportunities. You know, I think that's what we say about all these releases that WWE make. Sometimes the grass is greener.
Yeah,
you know? That's how the saying goes, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Right, Seddon. Let's take a look. Let's take a look.
Let's take a leak, Stu. That's a new interesting way of doing this. Let's have a piss.
Let's have a look at
as you can see, it's slim pickings this week. I think it's because we're in that cycle where we're about to go into a new month, and I think at the beginning of a new month, quite often the streaming sites will unleash a load of kind of movies that have been around for a long time. That seems to be where they recoup it, and they're probably not chucking their premium stuff up. So it was slim pickings, but I picked out this No Exit from Disney Plus. I actually watched a trailer for this, and I'm going to give you a toss of a coin on this. This could be awful or this could be really good. But the premise of it was around people being in kind of a community centre on a really kind of snowy evening, and they realise that they're going to be snowed in. And the lass, I think she goes out to either take a call or have a cigarette, and she goes past a van, and if you can see it on that picture, and there's a child that's been kidnapped that is locked in that van, and then they're all kind of stuck in this snowy building. It feels like one of those... what I quite like, great kind of little concept movies where you go, which one of these is the bastard who's kidnapping the kid, which one's the murderer, etc., etc., etc. And that actually looked quite interesting. And it was a Hulu one, but that comes out on Disney Plus today, I think it is. Yep, today. And then on Netflix, I've never seen this, but I know it's got quite a big audience. But Vikings, any of you guys have watched the Vikings?
I haven't. No.
I know a lot of people who said it's good, and this one is the follow-up to it. Basically, this is the I think all the original cast are gone, but this is them kind of taking that, because Vikings was actually made by, I want to say, the History Channel.
I think, yeah. Weird like that.
But this is Netflix actually buying out the kind of the franchise and doing theirs with it. So it certainly felt like a big enough release, and as you can see from Prime Video,
it's a cracker.
Like a wheelie bin there, because Shittle that was released post 2005. So I didn't even dignify them with a response. So it's looking a bit weak from that side of it, but I do think we are going to start hitting. So probably come next week, we'll probably get quite a lot because of it being a new month.
Yep. Is he frozen?
You me?
No, Seddon. I can't hear Seddon.
No, I'm here. Oh.
Hello?
Hello? Hello? Hello, Seddon? Seddon?
Hello.
I'm in the bin. You're in there with Prime.
Did you jump in the bin?
Yes, I did. Yes.
Am I still here?
You are, Jimmy. Yes, Jimmy. Right on cue.
You guys like me, right?
Although I will say, it is like you're phoning in from, I don't know, Eastern Europe. Like the Eurovision Song Contest.
Don't tell Putin.
It seems to be a little bit of a delay on you. I don't know what it is. It's weird. But anyway, we'll crack on regardless. Thank you, Seddon. How the hell do I get
there
this?
was a delay on me last week as well.
You just click on it against you and it goes away.
There we go. Thank you. Right. There we go. That was the Week in Geek. And up next, we've got our group watch, which... good old Lacey, the victor from the I want to call it Spinneroonie, but that name's already taken.
Spin the wheel, make a deal, as we were stealing from Halloween Havoc when we did it.
Spin a wheel, make a deal, and Lacey won the elimination chamber of that, and he got to pick. And what did you pick, Lacey?
Well, I didn't get to pick. I came up with two options, and I gave you, Stu, because you were the first eliminated, the one to choose. Option 1 or 2.
What was the other option?
I don't
option
remember
number 1 was going to be John Cena in the Marine.
Oh
yeah.
Because I said I've got two films. Pick number 1 or number 2.
Right.
Of
course I did. Yes, I went number 2.
Yes. As such, we got Birdman.
We did.
Get the full title: Birdman, or the Unexpected Virtue of Ignorance.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Birdman.
And yes, you were here for us.
You were there, Jimmy. So Birdman.
I remember drinking.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's what happened there.
There was wind and rum.
So Birdman, I came into this with a kind of vague understanding of what it was, and it won the Oscar in 2015 or was it 14? 15. 15?
I get confused because it was released in 2014, but it was probably the Oscar in 2015, wasn't it?
That's what I reckon. Yeah. So, it came with a lot of hype, as Oscar-winning films do, but I kind of, I didn't really tap into that hype at the time. So this was the first time I'd actually watched the film. And, it's... I didn't really know what to expect, but, a summary of the plot would be that Michael Keaton plays it's very kind of true to life in many ways.
Michael Keaton, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does.
Yeah,
he does, doesn't he? Yeah.
He plays an actor who is, a star of a superhero franchise from the 90s. So very, very telling for Mr. Keaton to play that role. And he's trying to rebuild his career by putting on this kind of a play on Broadway. And kind of the film follows the tribulations, the ups and downs, the fast court actions that happen during like each of the preview performances, and you kind of follow his, I don't know, you feel like you follow his mental state throughout the whole process. That's what I felt, and it kind of, I loved it, but I don't want to kind of blow my load too soon. I want to throw it out to the forum and kind of get your guys' opinions.
The end of the film.
What?
Where I was waiting for the rest of the film. So you follow him through that his putting on the play, right? He wrote it. He's wrote the adaptation. He's directing it. He's producing it. It's his previews and
it's previews to opening night, isn't it? Like
opening night.
Yeah.
That's why I don't do the plot summaries.
They layer it out quite a lot.
It was going well, and then you went, "Yeah, but I don't want to blow my load."
The success of a Broadway show is very much judged by both critics and that opening night. So really, they're almost saying you're going to get the full story here. You'll kind of get to opening night and potentially see whether this passion project for him, I guess, is what it's laying out as, isn't it? And he's thrown all of his money at it. He's basically thrown everything at this, and that's the initial peril that we find out. But I'm with you, Stu. I mean, this is following someone's mental state, and you're learning everything there is to know about this character throughout this film and the other characters in it. I think there's a lot of great characters and great performances in this, but really, it's him, isn't it? It's the why is he doing it, and throughout the course of the film, seeing that actually maybe that initial reason why we think he's doing it might not be why he's doing it, and everything that has impacted him throughout his life and how he's got to this. Yeah. And a lot of bits about a Birdman as well. Mm. It's not just a title. There's a Birdman in it.
There really is.
There's almost too much to unpack and talk about. Like, you could literally talk about this film for a day.
That's why it's so great.
As I said, I'd seen it before. I remember really enjoying it. I remember seeing the trailers and being excited about it. Quite often with the Oscar film that's coming out, I'm like, but this one, I remember not really seeing Michael Keaton in a lot before this. I think this seemed, from what my recollection is, a bit of a comeback film. And to be in a film where he's playing a guy who played a superhero in the 90s and left that, like this character does, like what's his name? Riggin?
Yeah.
Riggin.
The character's called Riggin. And he's trying to get away from this character he played, especially in the world that it was in, because the Marvel stuff was coming out, wasn't it? Like the superhero films were coming out.
They make mention of it.
Was out.
They make mention of it in the movie, don't they? A couple of times about.
So he's putting on his play to say, I'm a real actor. Look, I am a real actor. And the play's looking pretty shit, isn't it? And his daughter's there, who's an ex-alcoholic, played by Emma Stone, who's just wonderful. And Zach Galifianakis, who's almost unrecognizable, playing straight.
Absolutely fantastic, wasn't he?
Playing not comedy, as his agent, by the sound of it, or producing partner or something.
Bit of everything, wasn't it?
Agent, friend, producer, lawyer, wasn't he?
And you see the start of you see the rehearsals, and one of the main actor and the other main actor in it is fucking awful. Something happens, and they have to get another actor in, and instantly you've got Edward Norton in. Again, kind of playing what we understand of Edward Norton as being a bit of a hard arsehole to work with in films. Like, I don't think there's any secret about that he's not the easiest guy to work with, and he wants to take a lot of control in real life. So he seems like he's playing a version of himself as well.
Yeah.
And then they just carry on through this tumultuous set of rehearsals that keep going wrong, and the previews that are there, and they talk to the critic, and the critic, you know, as you say, Seddon, either makes you or breaks you. But he's constantly got Birdman character in his ear, telling him that he should go back to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, basically, isn't it? Going, this isn't you.
Yeah.
This is a waste of time. Go and get the big bucks. The audience are desperate to see you put that Birdman costume back on again. Again, as a Batman fan, you're also going, yes, I want to see Michael Keaton put the Batman outfit. And sure enough, he's fucking doing it now, isn't he? But there was so much truth in it. And they also use real actors' names. They name drop.
Robert Downey Jr. gets mentioned a few times, doesn't he? Yeah.
Edward Norton at one point when he tries to fire him says, "Who are you going to get?" The good-looking guy looks like me. What's his fucking name? Ryan Gosling. Yeah.
And I got that from remember it from the movie. Not that he looks like you. I just want to clarify that.
Yeah.
But I think he has got that hat.
Stuff, oh, of course he's got.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And are we doing spoilers?
Of course we are.
Before we go too spoilery, and one of the things that, like, and I know obviously we're talking about the plot, but one of the things that I think, not necessarily a plot point as such, but one of the things that I think is miraculous and marvelous about this movie is it looks like it is one shot from beginning to end, doesn't it? You are following the camera, and like, so when you start, and funny enough, you start off, don't you, with almost the first scene, but you have Michael Keaton in his pants floating in midair, don't you? And then the camera from that point onwards is always either following Keaton or following one of the characters that Keaton has just spoken to, who then goes off into another room. And predominantly, other than a few scenes in bars, nearly everything is in the theatre as well, isn't it? And I remembered that, but watching it again, I don't think the first time I watched it, I realised how amazing that was and how well that come across, because it's close to 2 hours. But I think the way that they filmed it, it felt like about 20 minutes, because I never felt like I wasn't in the room with them. And I just think it was a kind of masterful way to actually lay this out. And I think if maybe it had been cut more traditionally, like, you know, you saw the passage of time of, so sometimes they would be walking through a corridor and they'd be talking about the preview the next night, and then they'd go for a few rooms, you'd have a conversation, and then they'd walk through a door and it would be the preview night too. So it allowed for the passage of time to go really well as well.
How did it even do that? It was amazing, wasn't it? You didn't get lost.
No,
you kept in there.
It
incredible. And the soundtrack as well.
Oh yeah, the music that come along with it. And again, a lot of that is people in the rooms, isn't it? Like, you'll go past a room and there'll be a fella playing the drums. And that is the theme to, or the soundtrack, should I say, rather than the theme to.
Yeah, it's one of those of, like, I watching it, I was like, this could quite easily be, as I said, a one shot, one take sort of thing. Because how it flows. And I looked at it and went, oh, Keaton, and I thought this was a superhero film. I genuinely thought it was, him being this character Birdman, because it was around the same point when he got announced to come back into Spider-Man, when he was Vulture.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it, as well, that bit of casting. Like, there's such a kind of line through that where you go, like, well done, mate, for turning Batman into this and then this into Vulture.
So yeah, I was expecting a comic film. Didn't get that, but fuck me, I loved this.
Well, and when you say you expected it,
though.
They do in the advertising as well, don't they? You know, like, it is very much like him in the Birdman costume on the poster and stuff like that. They really lent heavily into that. And again, you know, like, I'm sure we'll get into what we think the film is for, what it was doing, but you know, that's smart, man. Like, some of the critiques he was putting onto Hollywood, and then he suckers a load of people in by going, It's a superhero movie. Come on. You know, it's just fantastic. Chris, I was going to ask you why you picked it. Like, and then again, this is in no way kind of an insult because I fucking love that you picked this, but I wondered why it had been your idea for a group watch.
Because it's one of those of like as I said, I thought it was a Keaton superhero film, and I fucking love Keaton, and I just never seen it, so I was like, I want to watch it.
Oh,
so this is your first time? Oh, brilliant!
I'd never seen it.
No way. Okay.
No, that makes it even better.
Yeah.
You know, I went, oh, it's on Disney Plus. Fuck it, I'll watch it. And because obviously we were doing the group spin, and I was like, I literally had, because if you notice, I had my phone out at the time. I was looking on what was on Disney Plus in the films. And when
you were buying me a present on Amazon, but
I want to see that.
Was I there for that?
That'll be my pick.
Yeah, possibly.
Embody. Oh, that's great that you hadn't seen it before. So you got first watch. Wonderful.
I think on my first watch, like I'd seen the trailers for it and I knew kind of what it was because we got it a bit later, as ever. Like, you know, it'd already got its Oscar buzz, and I knew that it wasn't a straight up superhero kind of movie by the time I went and saw it. And I think it would have been quite nice to have not known that. I think to go into that cold with the idea of going, is this? I mean, even if you thought it was going to be a dark superhero movie or maybe a satirical look at it, like it's certainly something that isn't that. And I think that would have been really nice to get that fresh experience. But yeah, unfortunately, that sort of stuff was spoiled for me.
I was surprised how funny it was and how witty it was. I was expecting it to be more of a really kind of serious, po-faced indie film, like critiquing cinema and the filmmaking process. But it was kind of that, but it was also really funny as well. And had some
it's
really sharp comedic performances. Almost farcical.
It's a comedy, it's a drama.
And weirdly enough, as comical and as funny as it is, the one person in it that's a paid professional comedian is the one that doesn't really do any jokes. Galifianakis, isn't it? Like they kind of remove him from doing that part.
Yeah.
I tell you, when I started watching it the other day, the bit when Edward Norton first turns up and says, and they go, "Oh yeah, thanks for coming in. Here we go. Do you want the script?" No, don't worry about the script. Let's just go with some of the stuff. And you're watching it, and they start doing the scene, and they start breaking down the scene, and you see Michael Keaton acting as his character, Figgins. Then you see him acting as his character in the play. Then you see him getting better as an actor, doing the scene with Norton as he's breaking it down. You're watching him get better at acting in a scene where he's already been acting. It's so all within itself. Like, that scene just blew me away. And Norton's so good. You forget how good Edward Norton is. I thought in this he was fucking amazing.
And I think one of the things that's quite stark is like you've got Naomi Watts in it as well, haven't you? And she plays like a relative. But when you get to, let's say, when we're approaching the final act, they all just disappear, basically, don't they? Like, we very much focus then into Keaton and his daughter, as you say, played by Emma Stone. And normally, I think if a character just disappears, you go, "Oh, where's that fucker gone?" But it was so compelling, that end bit, that I didn't give a shit about them anymore. Not because they weren't important. I think they did their bit perfectly for as long as they needed to be in the movie. I mean, this for me is a masterpiece.
None of the other characters got an arc. But you're right, it didn't matter. They were just actors in a play on Broadway. Like, you would, if you went onto that stage, you'd meet these people. They wouldn't have an arc. It was all just about him and his daughter.
And you know, like, I guess, like, if we're gonna, well, for me, I just said it. For me, this movie is a masterpiece. I think it is amazing. I think this is. It fits into that category of going. I would never say it's necessarily something that everyone would enjoy, because I don't. You know, I think when you get movies like this, it's not everyone's cup of tea, but it would fit into that category of one where I go, but I think everyone should watch it, because I think it's really good whether you like it or not. And I think it does amazing stuff with acting, scripting, concept, and visually and musically. And there ain't many movies you can give that to, is there? You know, that's a pretty sort of stellar range. But yeah, I was interested in like how you guys felt about it. Before, I guess maybe even when we break into a little bit of what we thought actually happened, because I think there's some interesting stuff around there. But how did we feel about the movie itself? Did we love it? Did we hate it? Did we let Chris pick again?
Well, if this is the caliber,
I absolutely love this. And if it wasn't for the fact I watched it last night, I didn't put it on until like 10 o'clock. If it got to like midnight, I was like, I've got to be up in the morning for work. I probably would have sat there and watched it again. Because it was one of those, I wanted to rewatch it to see bits that I'd missed.
I think it would reward multiple watches.
It feels like one like a Fight Club or Seven or something like that, where there's going to be bits that happen in it that you don't notice straight away.
Yeah.
That sort of compel the story a bit more. Keaton's fucking amazing. I mean, he's always amazing in pretty much everything, but yeah, this is a fucking amazing performance by Keaton. Norton's great. I fucking love the bit where he's wandering through Times Square in just his pants because he gets locked out of the door.
Yeah.
And just that sort of look on his face as he's running through, and then gets in the front door, bang, straight into the scene as he should be. I haven't got my gun. I'll use my fingers.
Yeah. Puts the wig on.
Yes. Yeah.
It is. This is fucking great, and I'm disappointed myself that it's been out for 6-7 years and I've not seen it.
Longer, I imagine.
Like
Seddon, that thing you said about it felt like about 20 minutes was exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't feel long at all because you're just in it. You're absolutely in it. You're pulled into it the way it's directed. At some point, you're the camera, aren't you? At some points, they talk to the camera, and you're sort of Paul Keaton's eyes or Edward Norton's eyes.
Yeah.
And it just draws you in, and just keeps dragging you along everywhere they go. I know what you mean about it's not for everyone, but I think it's more for everyone than a lot of arty films. Do you know what I mean? Because of how fun it is and how energetic it is and how there is a little bit of superhero shit in it. There is a little bit of superhero stuff.
Yeah. One of the things I was slightly fearful.
Whiplash.
Oh, see now that's a film I like more than Birdman.
I love Whiplash.
Yeah. But I think potentially, like, I guess one of my fears for Birdman being everyone's audience is it takes some pop shots at groups of people, and I think valid pop shots, and I think it is very wide and varied with who it takes pot shots at. But much like we said, but a much smarter, better version when we talked about Don't Look Up, is I think there will be people in the audience who are going to be criticised by some of the content in here, and I wonder whether those people would not appreciate that maybe and see that as a bit of that's a bit wankery, you're having a pop at me, which they are.
Who do you mean in particular?
Well, if you're a movie critic for one, or if you were
critics are cunts. Like, I love that bit where he's having a go at the critic, the woman who looks like she's licked out a tramp's arsehole.
Yes,
and he's going, you're just doing this fucking safe shit. You're not taking. You're just hiding. There's no risk. You're just shitting some opinions on a page. Whereas I've done everything. I've given my everything, my money, my everything to do this. And I certainly think that's a valid point.
Its big swings are at fans of genre movies, fans of. Well, I was going to say fans of, but users of social media as another group. You know, like they really do have their fair share of swings at Twitter and things like that, and Instagram. And I think they also kind of have a swing at people who want to have everything wash over them and not be challenged. And I think that's a wide part of the viewing audience right there, isn't it? Like, I think that is a lot of people in one of those three groups, you know, like, and some people in all three.
You're right. It's interesting because I can watch things like this and like, I can take shit like Water Off a Duck's Back, but not everyone can. Like, I love superhero movies and a lot of sort of people who are maybe smarter than me at certain things, smarter than at certain things.
You're right, Jimmy. You are funny.
Would give me shit for liking superhero movies, but I'm confident in myself enough that I enjoy them and I like them, but I can also enjoy things like Birdman or Whiplash or that sort of thing. But yeah, there's a lot of people who don't, that could take offence. I think you're right there.
I think the swings though are less at someone liking a superhero movie and more at assuming you're going to like something because it's a superhero movie. You know, like they do a lot about the sequel, don't they? They say, are you going to do Birdman 4? That's a very kind of consistent thing along it. And, you know, like he says, I don't want to do that. I've taken a break from that. And there's a bit where he's being interviewed, isn't he, by 4 journalists, isn't it? And one of them's a Japanese journalist, and he actually says, "I'm not doing Birdman 4." And then you just get this journalist hearing, Birdman 4, Birdman 4. And I think that's what it's really having its pot shots at, isn't it? Of not necessarily people liking it, but people liking it because it's that, without actually experiencing it or knowing whether it's good or not. Just going, I will like it because it is this. And as I say, the other big hits are a generation that, like. They do the whole part where he's in his pants, and during the film they're kind of portraying him as someone who has put his life and soul and everything into this great piece of art, and I guess we'll get to whether it is or not. But the most attention he gets is when he's walking in the street in his pants, and suddenly he's at that point the most attention he gets. Obviously, there's more attention later, but that's what actually kind of puts him in people's eye lines again. But even then, people can't forget that he is Birdman, and as I say, I think some audiences might not offended, but might just go, fuck off, you're having a pop at me, and because it is, I think.
So that's one of the big themes, isn't it, about actors being followed round by a character they have played, and that's them. Yeah, that's them. That's what people know them for. There's a brilliant bit in the nice bar where Edward Norton says, No one in here knows who you fucking are. And then suddenly a mum and son and husband come over and ask for his autograph. It's like, they do know who he is. They just
an amazing bit of the movie, because up until then we'd seen Norton join the cast, and Norton, as you said, is kind of schooling Keaton, isn't he? He's making him a better actor, and if in fact at that point you are going, Norton is the man here, and I think Norton thrives on that. But of course, yes, they go to a bar and no one wants Norton's autograph, but the family want the autograph with Keaton. And it's got so many layers to it, hasn't it? So many facets of a movie of critiquing some of the ways we do things, but critiquing the movie industry especially, and I guess Broadway as well. But and that's before you even get into the depths that it goes into his psychological welfare and that of the characters around him. It's just
apparently the original script ending was going to see Johnny Depp, with Captain Jack Sparrow behind him. This is happening to everyone.
The idea is to go like the cyclical nature of you get typecast, and obviously like years later we've seen that is a reality. Johnny Depp is Captain Jack Sparrow now, isn't he? He's nothing but that. He can't play a role other than that now, and he's stuck in that cycle.
I was going to say, because with someone like Johnny Depp, obviously originally he's the weird goth kid that plays in Burton's world. Now he's Captain Jack. There are.
No, he's the hunky cop from 21 Jump Street, mate. You should get a few more years on your clock, and then you'll know what Johnny Depp really was.
But it is one of those it is so many layers and levels to this that if you really sort of delve into it, it is a fucking clever film, and it says a lot.
You just keep going.
But it's also a level of a film where you can just sit there and watch it and let it wash over you in a way that it does. But sort of sit there and go, "Oh look, he can move things with telekinesis," or "Isn't he funny? He's got locked outside," or "Isn't it funny that Edward Norton's got a hard on trying to rape his ex-girlfriend on the bed going up?" There's bits on it that you don't have to think about, and the average audience will just let it go, oh, and it was good. But there's also enough on there that if you want to think about it, you want to look at it properly, there's a lot of shit to unpack, and it is done fucking brilliantly.
Mm.
Well, one of the big questions is, does he have special powers or not? Isn't it? That is a potential question there. Stu, what did you think about that?
I don't think. I think that was him trying to. I mean, I think that at its heart, for me, the film is about Michael Keaton trying to like find himself and find like his artistry again. Like, you know, he's obviously been churning out these franchise films in the 90s, and he's trying to like find himself again as an actor. And you know, maybe he's lost kind of that self belief in his craft, and these little moments where he's kind of, you know, pushing switches or doing whatever, these little kind of magical superhero type moments that he's having are almost him visualizing himself being a bit more, you know, kind of getting a bit of being a bit special, more special than he believes that he is, you know, a bit of a uniqueness. Perhaps he's lost that in his career, but yeah,
they're often accompanied, Stu, aren't they, with the Birdman speaking to him as well?
Yeah.
And the Birdman telling him, "You're not as special as you used to be, and look how special we were when we were the Birdman." So I think, yeah, that certainly resonated with me in the same way.
And I thought it was.
There's also.
No, go on, Jimmy.
Go ahead, Jim.
Okay,
I was going to say.
No, you go. You go.
I was going to say, also, most of the times when you see his special powers, they're followed by a scene of seeing how that special power was done. For example, when he flies off a roof and lands at his theatre, he goes in, the camera looks in, when it comes back, there's a guy getting out of a taxi, chasing him, going, hey, pay me my fucking money, man.
For a movie I love, that's my favourite scene in the movie. I think that is amazing because you have this sequence, don't you, where he's flying and, you know, it's very nice to watch. And then he comes in for the soft landing and goes in. And, yeah, a couple of seconds later, as you say, an angry taxi driver goes running into the building trying to get his taxi money. It's just so brilliantly done. Brilliant.
You see him destroying his room as well with his powers, don't you?
Yeah.
And then when Zach Galifianakis comes in the room, it goes back to him and he's just throwing stuff around his rooms. So there's always those little scenes, but there's two scenes where you don't see something else happen, and one is the start where he's floating in his bedroom in his pants, and the other is the final scene, which is obviously the big sort of what the fuck scene at the end of the film. Because at the end of the film, Norton has had a go at him for using a gun with a red tip on it. The reason why the gun has a red tip in it, I think it's illegal to have a replica gun without a red tip on the end. I think you have to have the red fucking tip. But he says, you be a fucking actor, use something more realistic. And then when he's getting ready for his opening night, you see him load up a fucking Desert Eagle or a Glock, I don't know what it is, like, but a proper gun. And he goes on, he does his piece, and he ad-libs a little bit in that final scene, which is, again, his acting is just different again and wonderful. And I think he points the gun at the critic even at one point. He goes, like that, at Edward Norton, and then puts it to his head and shoots himself in the face live on stage, and there's silence, and then everyone stands up and starts clapping, and you're going, is the film finished there? Is that one of the moments, Lacey, right, where you could go, that could be the end of the film, couldn't it? It could be there. Is he dead? Is he not dead? Is he Pablo?
I thought that's what was going to happen.
Cat, right? Yeah. It seems like the obvious choice, but it doesn't finish there. It goes to him waking up in hospital, right? It goes to the hospital bed. And you find out that he accidentally shot off his own nose instead of going
a great gag moment there, isn't there? Yeah, where he goes, it doesn't matter, we'll get Meg Ryan's nose guy in if we have to.
Yeah, that Galifianakis. That's his funniest bit, isn't it?
Yeah.
No, if he doesn't like that nose, we'll get another nose. Don't worry.
Yeah.
But he's become a star because he literally bled on stage in real life and in the theatre. And the critic who told him was going to kill his play absolutely loved it and raves about the play.
But even
and
then,
sort of go, look at the price he's had to pay.
But even then, I mean, again, what a harsh kind of critique on Hollywood fame critics. A lot of it of going, the critic have made it clear, I'm panning this. I'm not even going to watch it. I'm panning it. You kind of go, this isn't going to go well. Yeah. But actually, the fact that he shoots his own nose off is enough to engage everyone. You know that this is the rocket going to the moon, isn't it? And I think, that says a lot about us. And no, when I say us, inclusive of us on here, of that's what we're like as an audience now, isn't it? You say to us, in fact, okay, you say to us, there's a movie called Birdman, it does this. I think it would be a harder sell to get us to watch it than if you said some fucking dumber shoots himself by accident in this movie. The movie's rubbish, but some dumber does it. And I think it is a real sort of biting sort of indictment of how we've become. We have become this culture that wants soundbite moments and instant gratification and glorified things rather than maybe something, like he spent this whole movie saying, I'm pouring my heart and soul into this. And the thing that makes it a success or not is him shooting his nose off.
And then he takes off his bandage and he has fucking like Robert De Niro.
Like a beach.
It's so weird.
I did like how he had like his facial mask on, like his bandage did look like the Birdman mask. I thought that was a nice image.
And then Birdman's just sat on the toilet, isn't he?
Yeah.
As he's taking his Birdman's just sat there.
I love the ending. I think we should maybe give our interpretations of the ending.
Before we give interpretation of the ending, I just want to, because it kind of leads into interpretation, and it's something you said, Chris. I think this is a movie I could watch. I wouldn't watch it every day. I'm not saying that, but I could watch this multiple times, and I think my opinion on the movie would change. Not whether I liked it or not, but stuff of what I think was going on, because I think it will actually reflect somewhat to where my mindset is at the time. So I felt differently about it this time than I did the first time. But I think because it's got so many layers, and again, this is where my theories of we leap into the end, is that I think it can mean different people to different things to different people. I don't think there is a one right answer here, is there? I think it is. There are all of these bits, and multiple people might have different ideas of what happens at the end, or what's happening throughout. As you said to me, like the kind of idea of has he got powers or not? It almost doesn't matter, does it? I think it is the movie you want it to be, and I think that's why it's so brilliant. Yeah.
I think that. There's...
So at the end, Stu, what happens?
Well, he kind of, he's. I kind of just want to focus on like the final few shots of the film. I mean, his daughter's come to see him. Emma Stone is there, he kind of reconciles with his daughter to some degree, and
they bond over his Twitter account, don't they? She set up a Twitter for him, and you see this kind of connectivity that you hadn't necessarily seen. Yeah, like she looks at him in a different way, kind of right in that scene, doesn't she? Like it'd been strained, I would say, the relationship up until then.
Yeah, she goes out. She's bought him some flowers,
and he goes, "Well, I can't smell them."
Oh yeah. Flowers that she was getting really pissed off with him in the first conversation they had for having to go and buy. So you kind of see that massive tonal shift, don't you, in the relationship?
And so Emma Stone goes out to find a vase for the flowers, and Keaton kind of gets up from his bed. He takes the mask off, and we see his conch, his huge nose that he's got. He goes to the toilet, and Birdman is sitting
having a poo, because he'd be sitting down, wouldn't he? He'd definitely having a poo.
And I think he had a book, didn't he, or a paper? As he sat
had
there?
something. I assume he was having a poo, a little bird poo. And I don't know if Keaton says "fuck off" or something, but it's like he's at that point. He's cast. It felt like he was casting him off. He was like letting go of the Birdman character, and that's how I interpreted it.
I was going to say, like we diverge pretty much at the other side of the coin for me.
And
on that.
Well, he then walks, what happens?
He walks over to the window. He opens the window of his hospital room, and he kind of steps out, and then we don't kind of see what happens to him. And then Emma Stone comes in, his daughter comes in, and kind of is trying to see where she just doesn't know where her dad has gone. She kind of walks over to the window and sees that. And this was a really interesting point where she looks up, and also
she looks down first, doesn't she? Yeah, she looks down first.
Oh, I didn't know.
And then she looks up,
down, up, and then smiles.
Yeah. So
and then the movie ends, doesn't it?
It does.
Like, yeah.
Now I don't
cliffhanger. You could argue, I guess.
Yeah, it's very. I read it too. I like to think that he was kind of. He found his freedom. He found his creative freedom. You know, whether he was physically flying in the air. I don't know. I don't quite know how to interpret that, because it was interesting that this is like the first time where we'd seen someone else almost reacting to what he was doing. You know, the special moments, special moment, like whether he was flying or floating or, you know, doing whatever. So I'm not sure how to interpret that, but the scene overall, it felt like he was casting off the Birdman character and like freeing himself. He had freed himself creatively. That's how I read the scene. But
Jimbo,
he does fly at other points in the film, and no one reacts to him flying, like when he comes down and lands. But you're right, Stu. This is the only scene where someone reacts, and Emma Stone.
I think so. I could be wrong. I'm sure that
looks down. No, you're right. You are right. Yeah. You're right. So when she comes down, looks down, she's looking for his body because she thinks he's jumped out and killed himself, and he's not there. And then she looks up, and just the smile on her face of what looks like she's smiling at a flying dad. That's the look she gives. And I actually, you know, I watched a few sort of essays about this afterwards, about, you know, what happens, and I saw an interview with the directors, and he said that it is filmed so it's up to the audience. Like he said that he, you know, obviously he could have his own thought, but he said it's multiple, you know, reasons of multiple things of what could happen. For me, he does fly. Like for me, he flies. When I watched it, he flies. That's what I take. And I know there's lots more meaning, but and it's a beautiful relationship with him and his daughter, and how it's sort of they get beyond stuff, and how he has a bit of a triumph, and I could go, yeah, I'm with you, Stu. For what logically makes sense is he's reached his goal. Like everyone likes him. He's got the critics, and he's gone. This is a lot of bollocks. I'm freed from all of this stuff, all of this acting shit. I'm done. But still in my head, he does fly. He does fly away. I don't know. It's weird.
I think potentially the power of this movie is those. I think it probably says a lot about, you know, I said earlier about maybe watching it again, and the mental state you're in probably changes it. And again, probably says a lot about us, because you said about feeling free at that point. For me, it was totally opposite. So he gets the good review. He gets everything he thought he wanted. But actually, he was such a fragile human being, and the Birdman was always there with him, telling him that he was useless, because that was himself telling himself was useless, because nothing can ever, and this is just for me, nothing can ever make him feel, and his ego feel, as strong as it should do. So when he gets everything he wants and he goes in the toilet and he sees that the Birdman is still there, he realizes that he hasn't got what he wanted. That actually achieving this made no difference, because the Birdman is still there judging him. And the Birdman is still, his ego is still telling him he isn't good enough and there's more that he needs to do. And that's why he throws himself out the window and dies. The end. And her looking up and smiling, that's not her looking up and smiling. That is his ego telling himself that she looked up and smiled because he's still flying, because he's better than everyone else. But actually, no, he's just a sad, pathetic man who can't fight his own demons. And that's what it was for me.
You're seeing that from his point of view?
Yeah, I think that's in my head. That's him. That's him. Kind of his point of view. That kind of, in the same way as you said, Jimmy, earlier about some of the flying scenes. Like for me, those flying scenes don't happen. Like that's just in his head what would happen during that moment.
Yeah.
But yeah, and as I say, that probably says a lot more about me, about my mind state. But I think this is about him being a weak man, and you know, we're all weak in our own ways, but he could never get past his weakness. And this thing that he strived for, he told himself that making this play would be everything, and that would be the thing that would change it, and the Birdman would go away. You know, he has the discussion about trying to commit suicide but then getting attacked by all of the jellyfish, and that being the thing that stops him. And I think, like, yes, the Birdman still being there after him achieving everything he would, and again, even reconciling with his daughter, which I think he then convinced himself of something, but that wasn't enough. That actually he was still the weak man he was, and Birdman was still there, and he would go for that cycle again. So he kills himself for me.
See, I'm similar with said. The gunshot was a mistake. He actually meant to kill himself, but he fucks up. And then seeing Birdman still there is, even when I tried to kill myself, it couldn't get rid of it. I thought it would be better. It's not. I'm going.
Yeah.
And I do think that it is him jumping out and he is dead. And you know, I didn't see it like you did, with you thinking that it's him seeing her looking up and going smiling.
Just to kind of clarify, I don't think it's him looking up and seeing her smiling. I think like what we saw in this film is that there are times where stuff isn't happening. You know, it's stuff for the audience. And I think that is there for the audience to kind of go, because that's what him as Michael Keaton, or sorry, as the character, I'm blurring lines of reality now. That's how he would have interpreted it if he'd have been alive, in the same way as he interpreted that he was flying through the streets when really he was in the back of a taxi, you know, that sort of thing. And that was that part for me.
See, I read it as her looking up, as that sort of, you know, yes, he's dead, looking up to the sky and sort of going, well, you're off to a better place and you're happier now. Sort of reading of why she was looking up.
But what a belter, though.
I do notice that it's, you know, me and you again being the morbid ones.
We are a bit belter, aren't we? Yeah.
He died. He's dead.
He's dead. The end. He's a fucking useless human. He's dead. The end. Move on to the next movie. But again, like, what a brilliant and not every movie can do this. And I have watched ones where you get ambiguous endings and you just go, "You just fucking lazy. You haven't bothered trying." But I think that's part of the power of this movie, isn't it? Is that all the way through it, it's done so well that you, as the audience, two people could have been sat next to each other in the cinema watching the same movie, but have meandered down two different parts of it. Because it's done so well that you can do that, not that it's just a confusing mess or anything like that. And bravo to some of those actors.
Funny, like, I think a couple of people said to me, like, "Oh yeah, he flies at the end, doesn't he?" And I sort of like go, "No." Like, this was when I watched it the first time. It's like, no, he doesn't just fly at the end. But you're right, Seth. Depending on who you are and how your mindset is, it's always it's just different. Like, because. Yeah. I just don't see. I get it. He did try and kill himself with the jellyfish, and yes, I think he tried to kill himself on stage. I don't think it was, I'm going to do this for the art. He was relaxed, wasn't it? His ex-wife said to him, "You seem relaxed." He's like, "Yeah, I'm relaxed." And his acting performance is brilliant because he's like, "What have I got to fucking lose? I'm going out there and I'm going to do it." And then I do think he meant to kill himself.
Yeah.
But then he gets that next chance and he reconciles with his daughter. And he doesn't mind his nose. And then Birdman's there on the toilet.
And then the Birdman shows up, which has been his psychological nemesis all the way through the movie.
Yeah, I know. But then he goes and he looks out the window. It's like, it's a nice day. And does he go, well, I can fly, so I'll fly? Or does he? I don't know. Who knows? Who knows?
Just to pick up on the...
It's like...
What I would say though is that is like a brilliant kind of really meta point though, like the power that cinema can have when it isn't like constrained by like genre, like the superhero genre or any kind of genre really, you know, where you're, you know, it's you know, the big box office kind of
when it doesn't hold your hand all the way through.
Yeah,
I mean, the thing is, though, I think it's fine to have your hand held as well, though. Like, I don't think hand holding's such a bad thing unless it's in very bad circumstances with people you shouldn't. But I think the truth of it is that you had a really great movie creator here, didn't you? You had an amazing director with a really good story, getting the absolute best out of a cast. And I just think it is hugely smart with loads of layers as well. But I just think it's almost a perfect storm of a movie. I was going to say about Keaton, as good as he is in this, this was made for him, wasn't it? Like, you almost feel like, because of the stuff that happens, that the writers wrote this from him. And the one thing I didn't think to look up is, did they write it for him, or were they just really fortuitous that they wrote this and went, he'd be really good at this, and he agreed to come along for the ride? Because I wonder whether it loses a lot of impact by it not being him, because it was almost a really easy win for him, wasn't it? Because it had a backstory already that we'd seen in real life.
It was
I think you're right. Yeah,
the whole metatextual
if it wasn't
layer
Keaton,
does add something to it.
Yeah. I mean, who else could you have put in that part? Who had
Lou
that
Ferrigno.
same sort of Lou Ferrigno.
The guy from the 70s Spider-Man film, TV movies.
Yeah.
Andrew, whatever his name is.
You're right.
Adam Wee. That's what you're going to put in it. Adam Wee.
Jesus, that could have worked.
Yeah.
Adam Wee could have worked. That could have been really good. But Keaton, I think this is the best I've ever seen Keaton. I do love Keaton. There's bits when his voice sort of goes a bit Beetlejuicy, which I really enjoyed. Like when he's having a go at the critic, his voice goes a bit Beetlejuicy. It's weird how he's not used. I don't think he's used right a lot, Keaton. Like you see him pop up in, like it was in a remake of RoboCop. It's like, it's Keaton. He's going to do a good job, but you're like, what? Do something better, Michael Keaton. Like, he's a fucking incredible actor. He's so good. He's so exciting. He's got so much energy and manicness about him that's you don't know where he could go with something. And it just doesn't seem like it's been utilized through his career, really.
Because he made Batman. You know, again, that's why this is so meta and brilliant. Is that he got so typecast into, once you've been that superhero, people didn't either want him in those roles or he wasn't being offered those roles. You know, I imagine everything he was offered was kind of in that wheelhouse. And again, like, just another pat on the back to this movie. And I think why he's the perfect person to play this character.
But even beyond, like, I still don't feel like he's been. Maybe I've missed a few films, but I haven't seen anything where he's been utilized like this.
Yeah, but I mean, this is
the best scene in Batman with "You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts." You know, it's like he's as good as Jack Nicholson, in my opinion. Like, maybe not as, but he's not far off. Like, he could have done One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. You know, he could have done those other big parts. He could have done.
I'm going to say
villain
something
in The Departed or whatever those.
Really controversial here.
What?
I don't like him as Batman. He's not the worst because they let Kilmer and Clooney have a go, but I don't like his Batman. I think he, to a large degree, phones it in, and it's nothing like Batman should be.
I agree. I don't think he's amazing. I just love him because it's my Batman from when I was young and stuff. But I agree with you there. Like, it's not like, wow, he's amazing. But I just like him. He does a nice job. But I think he's a very good. As I say, my favorite scene is "You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts." You know, I really like him in the film Dream Team with Christopher Lloyd and the dad from Everybody Loves Raymond, and they're four guys in a mental home who go out to watch a baseball game, and the guy's looking after them.
I remember this. Yes, I do remember this. Yeah,
and they're trying to get back to him. It's like a comedy from the 80s, and it's brilliant.
Sorry, I just wanted to clarify when I said I don't like Keaton as Batman. I don't like Keaton as Bruce Wayne. Sorry, is the truth. I found his Bruce Wayne too weird, too obnoxious, too standoffish. But actually, I do quite like him as Batman. I think when he's doing the bits with Nicholson, I think yes, very good. But it's his Bruce Wayne that I struggled with the most.
Let's wrap this up now. Conscious of the time, but I think it's nice that we all got a group watch that we all enjoyed. It's been a while.
Have you ever had that? Best group watch pick ever.
Yeah. Are we gonna pick another one then? Are we gonna?
I couldn't remember. And I meant to check beforehand, but I couldn't remember when Moon Knight starts because I presume we'll go into that when it starts. Oh, okay.
End of March. So spin the wheel.
Oh, fuck! I haven't got the wheel ready. Someone should have. Well, I'll tell you what.
Do you know what's funny?
I tell you what.
I was disappointed that we got Birdman because I had seen it, and now it's like looking at it because I was like, oh, I wouldn't mind watching that film with Omar Epps, and now in retrospect, I was like, what was I fucking thinking?
Let's crack on with the next bit, and then I'll get the wheel set up, and we can do the wheel spin after that. How about that?
Good.
That sounds good. Well, let's delve into our digital diaries this week and take a blast through what we've been sampling and bringing to the table. So, Jimmy, I'm going to start with you, my friend. What have you been up to this week?
Well, I've watched quite a lot actually this week for once, and I'm torn between talking about Venom.
Oh, yeah, do that. I'm interested.
Oh, okay. I'll save Galaxy Quest. Venom: Let There Be Carnage, the sequel to the Tom Hardy Venom film in the Sony universe. People know Venom from the Marvel universe, but obviously Sony still own those characters, so we get these. This is the sequel. Tom Hardy plays Venom. Woody Harrelson playing Carnage or Cletus Cassidy?
Yeah, Cletus Cassidy. Yeah.
Cletus Cassidy, who is a serial killer in prison, and for an unknown reason, he wants to talk to Eddie Brock, who is Eddie Brock / Venom, who's a reporter. It makes it sound like he wants to talk to him because he wants to tell his story a little bit, but that's never really made clear. And he gets some of Venom's blood. He becomes Carnage, which is this other Venom type character who's big and red and a villain. And he wants his girlfriend back, so he goes and rescues her. And then they want to kill some people, i.e. Venom, Tom Hardy, i.e. Eddie Brock, and a cop who arrested his girlfriend back in the 70s or something.
That seems very simplistic.
And that's it.
Is that it?
You sold it well, mate. And I don't blame you on the selling job. I think I will watch it when it's free at some point. But I thought, and again, as another plug for the worst movies, worst superhero movies, that this movie may make an appearance on some list. Like the first one, and the first one was so bad. I thought I ain't coming back for a fucking sequel. Not giving them more money.
This is much worse than the first one.
Oh, and I hated the first one. So goddamn, I'm not gonna like this.
It came up on Prime for $1.99 to rent, and I'm gonna watch it because it's in this world, superhero world. I'm gonna watch these films.
Is that deal still on?
Yeah, I think so.
I'm tempted to jump on that.
Stu, he's just told you it's worse than the first one. You're going to give him £1.99. Wait till it's free, man.
No,
I'm curious.
But I'm with it's £2. You drop £1 and find another £1.
I'd rather give £2 to someone who hasn't made a shit movie. You just told me it's shit. Why would I give him money?
For £2, that's half weird about it. I could spend money on something that's good.
Could buy a Venom comic, for example. Yes, Chris.
Exactly.
It's almost a meal deal as well.
A couple of sausage rolls. Come on. Anyway, look, the film it is dreadful. The whole film is just Tom Hardy, Eddie Brock, and Venom, Tom Hardy, arguing in his head. That's pretty much the entire film. My wife was sat next to me reading a book, I think, as I watched it. And even her reading her book, and about an hour and 20 minutes into it, sort of went, has anything happened? I was like, no, nothing has happened. So it sounds like they've just been arguing the whole time. But yes, that is it. And silly arguments. And actually, Venom's funny. Like, he has some funny lines, and he's delivering the lines in a really funny way. But it's not funny because it doesn't fucking work because it's not what you want. But Venom delivers his lines like he's in What We Do in the Shadows. It's like that sort of comedy. It's really
fucking got me interested again.
You might as well have had fucking Matt Berry as Venom.
Nice.
That sort of delivery of the lines.
Fuck me up.
Woody Harrelson's motor, and that's a really weird thing. So he says, Eddie Brock, come and speak to me. You don't learn that how he really knows Eddie Brock, because Eddie Brock's not known to be a great reporter. I think at the start of the first one, he was sort of known a bit, and then he was out of favour and he was nothing.
I was going to say, Jimmy, it's one of the big disconnects I have with the first movie is that in the comic books, he's a reporter, and there's some competitiveness with it between him and Peter Parker and things like that. But they establish him as a reporter for a while, whereas in the kind of this Sony universe, they just brush over in that first movie that he's a reporter, kind of, don't they? And now they go, well, people have probably read the comic books. They know he's a reporter. Let's go back to that plot line. And it seems a bit weak.
Yeah, he's the least convincing reporter ever. And he turns up and Cletus tells him a couple of lines, and then he goes off and Venom sees Cletus's cell and works out where all Cletus's dead bodies are of who was killed. So Eddie releases that news, and there's a montage of, wow, Eddie Brock is the new kid on town, new kid in town. His career's been revived. This is in like the first 3 minutes of the film, first 3 or 4 minutes. It's like he's back on top, and you're like, for what? He hasn't done anything. He went to meet Cletus. He's with him for about 3-4 minutes. Venom spots a clue, and then that's it. So suddenly he's really special, and he's which fucking makes no sense. And then because he's done that, Cletus is getting put to death because they found the bodies. So now he goes, right, I want Eddie Brock to come and watch me die because he's done this. It's like, no, you did this by asking him to come and interview you, and
by murdering
he saw
the people.
A clue, but
it's probably the bigger thing that he did.
Murder.
He's going, oh, this is unfair. I want him to watch me die, and then he, and as I think you see in the trailer, he bites Eddie Brock and gets a bit of the symbiont, and becomes Venom and becomes Carnage, and then it's not great CGI. It's not great. The best bits of Venom, I think, are where you see half of Venom's face and half of Tom Hardy's face, because just watching two CGI monsters go at it, it's fucking boring, isn't it? Unless it's Hulk versus Thanos, where you've got quite Hulk versus Thanos. You've got stories and years of these characters, and it's fucking good CGI. This is just two weird, sort of fucking symbiont, slimy pieces of shit. Yeah, it's bad, man. And even the end, like the post-credit scene, is bad. It's a bad film. Nothing anyone can do. No,
it's interesting. It's interesting you say it's boring though, because that was my biggest complaint. I mean, I have complaints about like kind of what they do with the Venom concept in it, but it was more so that they just made such a boring movie, and then you tell me that they've followed that up by making an even more boring one, and I went, okay, I guess that tracks.
They separate at one point, Venom and Eddie. They separate. Venom goes off, and he's in a sulk, and he goes to I think he goes to a gay pride club or something, because he gets up and does a speech about, I don't need him anymore, and he thought I was nothing, and everyone's going, yeah, I love your costume, man. It's like, it's obviously not a fucking costume. He's got his massive mouth and tongue. That's the best costume ever, man. You're like, no. We're not in the 80s anymore where that joke could work. Like, it's obviously a fucking 12-foot fucking monster.
I'm in.
Stu, I'll give you £1.99 if you don't watch this.
Okay. I'll wait for it to come on Sky.
Anything to stop them from getting more money. Because let's jump back to Birdman. This is the fucking problem. Stop funding these pricks. They'll keep making more of this shit.
And then you've also got the woman playing.
That shit.
The first one was better, I think. You've got the girl playing his Cletus's girlfriend. Is her name Noomi Rapace? Is that
I
her
like
name?
her. The lass from
She's in Pirates of the Caribbean.
Is she?
Naomi Harris.
Naomi Harris.
Okay.
Naomi Harris.
The one you're talking about is the one who did the girl with the dragon tattoo, but the original one. That was.
No, she's good. No, this is the worst Naomi.
Yeah.
It's like you've taken Naomi Harris's name, but just said it drunk.
Was she in James Bond as well, or did I imagine that? Is that another Naomi?
Yes,
We've got three
Naomis
on the rampage out there.
She's in James Bond. She's in Pirates of the Caribbean as Calypso, I think.
Yeah.
In this, she plays, what's her character's name? Echo, Scream, Shouty, something like that. She can make a lot of noise. And obviously, as you know, symbionts don't like noise.
Yes.
Shriek.
But when Carnage turns up to rescue her with Woody Harrelson in it,
shrieking Saved by the Bell.
And I did.
And he's now playing up front for Norwich.
Yeah.
Is it? Done all right after death. No, so he turns up and rescues her because she's in a padded cell where no one can listen to her, right? Because she makes a noise and it hurts people. And she looks at him and she sees Woody Harrelson's face in the Carnage body, and she's like, "Oh, you're beautiful. I love it." And he's all red and slimy and, fucking Akira. And then later on in the film, he gets bigger and bigger and better. And she looks at him and goes, "Oh, no, this is too much. You need to stop this." And you're like, this is a completely different character from earlier. Earlier, you were a fucking loon who found this all amazing and sexy. And now you don't. And because of that, there's a bit of a fight with her. And it makes no sense. None of it makes sense. It's so bad. It's so bad.
The thing that was a real shame again in the first one, and obviously into this, is it's got Tom Hardy in it. And I generally love Tom Hardy in movies. He tends to be good at picking out scripts. And also it's got Michelle Williams in it, who I think is an amazing actress. And I see... And Woody Harrelson I'm a fan of. And I see talent like that chucked into a movie like this, and I think, and good on them, because I'm sure they got paid, and we should all get paid for the stuff we do. But my God, what a waste of three great actors.
Yeah. Dreadful.
Directed by Andy Serkis as well. I didn't know.
As well. Andy Serkis directed. I liked his he did stuff on The Hobbit, didn't he?
Oh, Jesus.
I think he was the second director on The Hobbit.
Oh, was he? Okay.
Is that because they fucking killed the first one because it was so shit?
Oh, God.
Yeah, well, it was Del Toro originally, wasn't it? And then they said, and then something went wrong there, so Peter Jackson had to come in and take back over. And then he was...
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Serkis was the second director. So Serkis did all the big action stuff, I think. But yeah, it was a real shame because, as I say, I'll watch any of these superhero films because I want to make sure I don't miss anything. That's why I watch them. I don't want to miss something. I don't want someone to explain to me later. I don't want someone to come in and telling me something I didn't see in another film. I go, all right, I saw the fucking film. Who do you think I am? I'm on a podcast. But yeah, highly recommend not to watch if you're not obsessed with comic book films.
Okay. Thank you, Jimmy.
You are like me. Watch it.
Lacey, what have you been up to, my friend?
So I have smashed season 1 of Jessica Jones.
Continuing your journey.
Yes. And Death Grave is the greatest villain ever. And just genius. Absolutely love it.
Is this David Tennant?
Yeah, Tennant. Yeah,
David Tennant.
I heard he's really good in it. What makes him so good? What is it, like
he's
charisma?
Evil in it, isn't he?
He is a proper cunt.
Yeah.
Is the nicest way of putting it.
Yeah.
He is a proper...
He leans into
evil, manipulative cunt.
Rapey as well. He really leans into raping. Bearing in mind, up until this point, we'd kind of known him as Doctor Who, and then all of a sudden he appears and he's this manipulative, evil, rapey bastard. It's an amazing.
Well, in the comic books, he is a very, very bad man, isn't he? The stuff he does to Jessica Jones before she's Jessica. Was she someone else before Jessica Jones?
Quite Diamond, I think her name was as a superhero. But
it does quite Man or something.
Yeah, he does quite bad things in the TV show as well. They don't shy away from that.
Yeah, this was fucking amazing, and again,
really
kicking myself for not watching it sooner. If I could have had the week off work and not had to, go and earn money and for bills and such, I would have just spent the whole week watching all of this.
Purple Man.
Yeah,
Jessica Jones was fucking amazing. I love how they brought Luke Cage in. I love the slight nods to Daredevil as well, because the nurse who is with Daredevil in season 1 is at the very end. So it drops enough that it's playing in the same universe and they're all going to sort of join together. But in the first 2 seasons, at least, of Daredevil and the first season of Jessica Jones, it's not apparent that it's massively important that these things are all happening together. But it's just so fucking well laced together that there's just those little nuggets that carry through everything.
This is my second favourite Marvel TV show behind WandaVision.
I want to get in on these.
I think it's absolutely brilliant. And partly one of the things that made it brilliant
now that they're canon.
Once you're on Disney, you watch them, Stu. One of the things that I like the most about it is that it was a relatively well regarded comic book, but it was one made not that long beforehand, and she's not a big character as such, but they kind of took it and they go pretty close to what happens in the comic. There's one particular scene, and you say about the integration of Luke Cage, there's one particular scene in the comic book that was considered quite controversial that didn't make it into the TV show. But outside of that, it tracks the kind of dark, more grown-up story that I think the comic book has. But whilst, we talk about how brilliant Tennant is and how evil he is, but he still does kind of Doctor Who-y. Like he doesn't move totally away from that. He's quite light-hearted at bits when he's being a cunt. Like he really leans into that side of it.
Obviously, he does this afterwards, but he very much reminds me of what he's like when he's Crowley in Good Omens.
Yes, yeah. I'm with you on that.
That very sort of, he is evil, but also, will have a little bit of a joke and a jest. And you can see that there is a little bit of a nicety to him, but he is a cunt. And then
the main lass, Jessica Jones, is Kristen Ritter, isn't it? And like Jessica Jones is, you come in and she is let's say a damaged human being. She's not in a happy place. She's a heavy drinker. She doesn't really like many human beings. Her business is on the max. And I think like Kristen Ritter plays this amazing. Like 100% believe she is the character. It's like they designed her as an actress to play Jessica Jones.
Yeah, I watched Daredevil season 1 and 2 and loved it. But with Jessica Jones, Luke Cage and Iron Fist, I only got a few episodes in before I sort of checked. I think Jessica Jones only managed 1 or maybe 2. Did they start off really good? Did I miss something because it's quite rare I drop out of shows. All 3 of those I dropped out. Daredevil was amazing, but all 3 of those I dropped out.
With Jessica Jones, I did that Saturday and Sunday. I did it over 2 days, all 13 episodes. If it wasn't for that I had to sleep at some point, I would have done it in one hit.
It's not very superhero-y at the start, though, is it? It's not kind of... And again, not a big character. So you're not kind of dropped in and go, there's going to be superhero stuff. It leans a lot more into the kind of the private detective stuff early on in it. And through a lot of it for Jessica Jones.
I think it was just the characters. If you can vibe with the characters, you are in on this and you will fucking love it.
I vibed the most with Luke Cage.
And then I think it's fucking great. Then I've done all of season 2 of Daredevil. Again, fucking awesome. I fucking love what they've done with the Punisher. They've done the Punisher right.
Yeah.
So is he introduced in season 2 of Daredevil?
Yeah, he comes into season 2 of Daredevil and he is done perfectly. And then again, at the end of it, there's a few little nuggets of stuff from Jessica Jones at the back end of Daredevil, so you've got that sort of continuation of things starting to link together. Again, awesome TV, and I am, as I said earlier, kicking myself that I didn't fucking get on these much earlier.
Sorry, mate, they're going to be on Disney soon. It's fine. You can watch them then.
Yeah. The real place to watch them.
The House of Mouse.
Yeah. Only, because I think it's around, was it 2014, 2015 when these first?
2016.
Yeah.
2016 is when the.
Just the 5 or 6 years, boys, for fuck's sake.
Enjoy them.
They're about the bloody universes you like as well. Jesus.
But you know, I don't know why I didn't. I mean, I've seen the first series of Daredevil, but I never just. I don't know why I didn't carry on.
My reason for not doing it was I got there and it was like, oh, there's 3 seasons of this, 3 seasons of this one, 2 of this one, 2 of this one. When do I start? When do I have the time to sit there and bash through 60 odd episodes if you're doing
last weekend apparently?
Yeah.
No, but maybe there was more stuff on at the time. Was Game of Thrones was out and everything else was out, and
it's one of those. It was because it came up when it's coming off at the end of the month. I was like, fuck, I need to fucking do it. But it's always been sat on my watch list as I'll get around to watching that at some point.
Yeah.
It was the non-commit, which is one of the problems with streaming and not having stuff on telly at the time is I'll watch it at some point. I'll play it at some point.
Yeah, I've got so much stuff in my watch list.
Yeah. And the further you move away from them being released, they become less important because you know they can sit on your watch list because you'll get around to them one day.
Yeah.
It's like the digital cupboard.
I will say, Chris, there's some great. I really like Daredevil season 1, 2, 3. I think Jessica Jones season 1, as I say, is for me like just behind. Well, not just, it's behind WandaVision, but that's the only thing. I love Luke Cage season 1. I will say, outside of that, other bits aren't so good. Like I think I said to you, like Iron Fist, I think is just bad. Defenders was disappointing.
Iron Fist is bad.
Yeah. Jessica Jones season 2 not as good. Luke Cage season 2 not as good, and The Punisher's fine. But I think by that stage, I'll be honest, I think they had been told the writing is on the wall, kids. The mouse has bought Marvel, and you ain't going to have this for much longer. So I think. You kind of see it winds down then, unfortunately. But yeah, I'm really pleased you're enjoying them, and I think there's some really good stuff there.
Yeah.
And if you want to hear us talk more about TV adaptations and stuff, last week's Comic Stash.
We did. In fact, we covered these, didn't we? I forgot about that.
Yes. And me at that point going, I've not watched them. I really should.
And just 1 week later, you've seen 60 hours of TV.
It was
amazing.
He's watched more TV than there is hours in a day.
It was literally the day after we recorded the TV adaptation show.
Yeah.
The announcement came up that they were getting taken off Netflix at the end of the month. And it was like, fuck. Best get on it.
I do hope, as much as I mocked it earlier, I do hope they do end up on Disney Plus though, because I'd hate them to end up. Like, there are a few things out there in history that have got joint ownership between 2 companies, and they can never come on an agreement being shown anywhere. Although, as I said to you, Chris, and weirdly enough, I found out that I own Jessica Jones season 1 on Blu-ray, and it was only just for the comic book show. I was just going onto Amazon to look up to see what years they were. And it said at the top, I bought this December 2016 or something. I thought, fucking hell, I didn't even know I owned it. But yeah, I bought it at some point.
Wow, yeah.
In a cupboard somewhere.
Excuse me. Thank you, Lacey, for that. Seddon, I'm going to come to you, sir.
Well, I was going to stand down on mine and do mine next week. Only because I've seen the one that you were going to talk about as well, haven't I? So I figured we'd have joint voices on that.
Let's do that then.
And I've managed to get the spinny wheel ready, so we can do that after this.
Good old boy. So I want to talk about Archive 81, which is available on Netflix. I think it's been out for, what, month?
About a month now.
It came out back end of January, didn't it?
Yeah.
Fairly recently. And it is if I was to attribute a genre to it, it's very much a kind of supernatural sci-fi kind of very mysterious show. It's what I loved about it is well, no, scratch that. Let me get on to the plot details. I guess that's kind of key. So we follow the main protagonist called Dan, who is hired by like a mysterious gentleman to kind of go to this remote. I don't know, where is it? Where is the remote location set? I can't remember. Is it like
I must admit, I didn't.
Canada or something?
I thought, it's going to be like the Canada
In the
or like in the
wilderness.
western side of the states, somewhere kind of near Seattle or something like that. The places that you hear are meant to be lovely.
Yes. So this gentleman who represents this like large company tasks Dan to go to this remote location and kind of go through. And I should say that Dan is a like a videographer. He kind of repairs. He
Restores, doesn't he?
Restores,
and brings kind of movie, film, and videos back to life, I guess.
He does, and obviously he's employed by this gentleman and goes off to this location, and he's tasked with restoring a collection of tapes that have been reclaimed from a apartment fire many years ago, like mid 90s, I think it is.
Yeah,
and we kind of. The first few episodes follow Dan kind of just looking through these tapes, kind of viewing the footage through his lens, kind of because it's the footage is of a video camera. I'm really doing a poor job of explaining this. I do apologise.
She's kind of a videographer, isn't she?
I'm with you.
Said, or like a kind of
what's her name?
An amateur journalist, I guess you kind of might.
Melody.
Melody. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, Melody is an amateur journalist, like sleuth, as Seddon says, who is trying to is investigating the disappearance of her mother. And it kind of leads her to this this apartment block, and she is videoing and interviewing residents of the apartment block to kind of like get a sense of the history of the apartment, maybe see if they know anything about the disappearance of her mother. So we're following Dan, who's watching the videos made by Melody. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. What is kind of interesting at this point is Dan then kind of starts to spot. I think that the stinger at the end of the first episode is that he recognizes his father. Who's deceased. Him on these videos, I kind of think, what the hell is going on here? And it's really
post-death or pre?
Pre-death.
Yes. Yeah.
So like they established for Dan that there was a fire at his family home. And it's just kind of mentioned, isn't it, Stu? Like that's not put as a big plot point as such until, as you say, we then see him being in the background of one of the, being a key player in the background of one of these videos at this place that had burnt down. I guess that's where, and again, it's mystery, Stu. I think you said it, one of the first things you said is this is a mystery upon a mystery upon a mystery, this show, isn't it? And we really start to get that, as I say, at the end of episode 1.
Yeah, and what I love about the show is how that mystery kind of just peels away after each episode. Like just little tidbits are revealed to you as each episode goes on, and like Dan starts to interact with Melody. He has visions where he kind of has like dreamlike visions of Melody like conversing with him, and through the tape as well he's seeing like kind of ghostly imagery. And the plot kind of, I don't want to say too much about the plot, but it kind of develops into this. It broadens out into this like kind of grander, like gothic horror type cult like scenario, and it's just really, really interesting.
And at that stage, Stu, where you say like Dan starts to see stuff and potentially interact, they do. What I really liked about it is that again, it keeps that mystery in because he starts to where he is very remote. Part of this deal with him doing it is he's not supposed to communicate with anyone.
Yeah.
But often he goes off into the woods and he finds a bit of signal and he phones his mate who has a podcast, and so like his mate does a bit of kind of on the side investigating for him. But there's these little nuggets with his friend and the person who's employed him, when they start to talk about the fact that he had a mental break at some point and had to be institutionalized. And then they start to feed in of going, actually, is the stuff that he's seeing on the tapes actually there? Or is he having a breakdown because he's now in basically solitary confinement in this building? And it really layers in tons of mystery, but suspense. And you know, like it does have a lot of cliffhanger endings per episode, doesn't it, Stu? It tends to end on something where you go, oh, I better watch another bloody one of these because I want to know what's going to happen next. But yeah, you're right. There's gothic horror in there. There's hints at cults. There's hints at timey-wimey stuff. There's hints at supernatural monsters. There's hints at, is this just kind of someone being driven to something through mental illness and isolation? Yeah, I think they do a cracking job of it.
What did you think, Seddon? Did you as it went on and like more is revealed? One criticism I would say is the more that was revealed to me, the less maybe engaged I was with it, the less I was enjoying it, potentially.
I think kind of spoilery stuff, like for you boys, if you're watching it, this is something that's going to have a season 2. Like, this isn't a self-contained singular story. When you get to the end of this, you are going somewhere else next. And I will be honest, there was a bit of me that I think had wished that this was a one-season thing.
One and done.
Because I think some of the stuff they do early is so gripping that as we got towards the end, I started to go, well, okay, this isn't ending here, is it? We've got more to come. And it's not that it's bad that we've got more to come, but it was almost, it made a couple of those couple of episodes feel a little bit less exciting because I thought we're not going to get the full story here. But yeah, I really liked it. I thought it was excellent.
How scary is it?
No, I'd say it's more.
There's a couple of bits, isn't there? I think there's a couple of bits, like there's a couple of jump scare bits with some of the stuff that happens in the videos. I'd say probably in the first couple of episodes more than anything else. And then after that, I think it leans a much more into being told about things or being hinted that things might happen rather than anything else. But yeah, I'd say not that scary, but if you're going to get kind of scared, it's going to be in those first maybe 1 or 2 episodes where they do rely on a bit more jump scare stuff at that point.
It's more of a tone and an atmosphere that it gives in than relying on jump scares for me, which is, you know, which I prefer in my kind of, you know, horror.
I think one of the things...
What is it about videotapes that make it so scary? What is it about characters watching videotapes?
It's that found footage thing, isn't it? Yeah, it's
grainy. They do pay that up because it's kind of, because this is damaged as well. It allows for them to do cuts in the video, so it will jump from a scene to another, and something more dramatic might be happening because he's only been able to restore part of the video. But yeah, I think that kind of we're used to a HD world now, aren't we? Where you can see everything in every corner, whereas then you couldn't. And while there's a little bit of like snow on the screen, you go, what the fuck's going to happen when it comes back from the snow? And I think it adds a tenseness to it that it probably isn't there now.
The Ring probably added to that world, didn't it? The watching the videotape.
It does. It does. I mean, aesthetically, it does blend into when you are seeing the past stuff from the 90s. It isn't all based in like grainy videotape footage. It does kind of there is like a development into what we see, you know, like an HD image on the screen is portrayed as you are there at the time, as opposed to someone viewing it through a camera. So it does that quite well. It's quite subtle how it does that.
It's kind of when the story wants to as well, doesn't it? You know, I think they're smart with that. They pick and choose when you are watching the 90s world for a video and when you're watching it as if you're in the room. And again, partially because of what they probably want to obscure or show in the background. And I think one of the things that stood out for me, Stu, is you said like you start off meeting Dan and it's Dan's story, and you think you're going to get the rest of it kind of piecemeal by videos, but you become equally or potentially become equally as invested in Melody as well. They are the two main characters, even though the stories are divided by many years.
And then the relationship between the two.
Yeah. you know, you kind of get invested in what's going to happen to them individually, or I mean, we're talking about a story where effectively you're saying, you know, one of these characters is in a fire and you are told right at the beginning they are dead. So you could almost go, well, how would I get invested in someone who's got a finite story arc here? But you do get very invested in someone who may or may not have a finite story arc.
Yeah, very good. Very good.
Acting wise, I thought Dan was brilliant. In fact, I'll actually use his acting name. Who is it? Mamadou Athie. I thought he was brilliant in it. I thought every scene he was in,
he was good.
I couldn't take my eyes off the screen. I thought he played, and again, like as I said, with a show with a plot line running through it of going, is he seeing this stuff or is he imagining it? I thought he was very convincing with feet in both of those camps. There were some scenes where I'm like, yeah, definitely he's seeing his stuff, and because he did it so well, there were scenes where I was just going, no, has he just lost it? Like, but yeah, I thought he was great.
As was Dina Shihabi. Forgive me if I butchered. She's not going to be watching, but you know, if I butchered
she might be.
Who is Melody?
200 subs.
I didn't mention her, did I? 200 subs. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Go us.
If we go down to 199, we know Dean is left.
8 episodes on Netflix, produced by James Wan. By the way, I think that's it's a salient point.
I know that name. What did he do?
The Conjuring.
Yes.
Created Saw, Insidious. So
he's up and down. He's kind of modern horror boy, isn't he? Like
he is.
Yeah. That's right.
So you may love him, you may hate him, but I thought this was very good, and probably unlike a lot of that stuff that he's done. Because it's more, I don't know, more of an atmospheric horror,
friendlier.
Yeah, I'd say it's more Conjuring than it was Saw. I guess.
I think you're right with atmosphere too. It's certainly, and again, not just because of the split timescales, but it has a look and it has a feel to it, and it is because he is isolated a lot of the time. It does feel tense for that reason, you know. Like it's very, I don't know, sometimes skin crawly even, and not what with horror, but you're kind of going, oh god, like the house looks lovely, but yeah, I wouldn't want to be in the woods being told I'm not allowed to speak to anyone while weird shit starts to happen in the background.
Yeah, it plays into that fear that we all have, you know, when we're alone in a house on our own.
Yeah, man. Just going back to watching the videotapes, like there's something spooky about it. Watching old real videos that's just somehow gone into our heads from somewhere, because it's spooky watching a child's video monitor. When you're watching your child's video monitor and they're asleep in the room, everything goes through your head. The idea of hearing a voice, the idea of seeing something move in the background, like every fucking terrifying thing comes to you.
It's like Paranormal Activity.
Well, exactly, yeah.
Yes.
But then you look at the next, even when your kid just looks up at the fucking screen, these glowing eyes. But then you take the next step and you go, well, it's a recorded video of something. But imagine if something does something weird in that, a thing that's recorded, that's even spookier. It's just your mind. The world has brought those ideas into your head. Someone invented those, like surely, like we didn't invent that sort of thing. You know,
that Paranormal Activity. Whether people love it or hate it, some of the most effective scenes, I think, in number 1 and number 2 are just when the camera's panning from left to right.
Yeah.
And actually,
what you don't see.
Yeah, it never has to show you anything, because you're just sitting at home going, you fucking bastard, I know. When you go right again, there's going to be something, and then there isn't. And you go, I know. When you go left again, there's going to be something. And
did Paranormal Activity invent that, or was it invented in Ghostwatch 1992 with Craig Charles and Sarah Green and Michael Parkinson? It wasn't Parky, was it? Who was it?
It was Parky.
It
was Parky.
Yeah. We watched that for the Halloween
we did.
special, didn't we?
Yes, we did. Yes, we did.
Yeah, but I didn't bloody make the Halloween special, did I?
Did you not?
I was in I was at Potter World and I got stuck in traffic.
Oh yeah.
I did watch a lot of it, yeah.
Well, luckily, there's a Halloween every year, mate, so you can be for this year's one. But I think there is that like we talk about like how to make something scary, and I know you're not a big fan of horror as such, Jimmy, but I think sometimes that's a big divide, isn't it, of going you can, and I'm sure we'll talk about this at some point in the near future, something like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake, reboot, whatever, where it relies very heavily on the kind of grotesque areas of horror, but there's also that great horror making skill of going, I'm going to make you scared, but nothing's going to happen. But we're just going to tap into those inner fears we have. Same thing of when you close the fridge door. No, I mean, I found a way around this in my house. I don't open my fridge door very far, so I always know there's not going to be someone on the other side. But it's this thing of going.
Now that's another one put in my head. Seddon. I've never really thought of that.
Yeah, the fear of the unknown. I guess.
I get it. Yeah, I hate it when you shut a mirror in your bathroom.
Oh God, yeah, and you think there's going to be someone behind you, isn't there? Yeah.
He's fucking there
the
behind
medicine
me.
cabinet, or someone behind you in the back seat of your car. That old trope.
Well, someone you didn't expect anyway. For those people you picked up.
Walking in your Achilles heel. It's that.
My fucking wife just came and bashed herself on the door to fucking.
Now, for long time watchers of the show, the last time he reacted like that, there was a fox in the garden. Now it's his wife.
I can hear her laughing. She always jumps out on me, my wife. She loves it and just jump, but never at night. She does it during the day. But fuck off, that was terrifying. Bastard.
That's hilarious.
She had a white nightie as well. She had a white nightie with dark hair coming down.
Well done, Em. Well done.
Good girl. That's what you get for buying that undercut pork.
Where's my rum?
There you go. Archive 81, thoroughly recommended from me.
I would say it's a lovely little binge watch, isn't it, Stu? As you say, only 8 episodes, and I think you'll fly through a few at a time at the very least, because it's very kind of grab you and get you to watch the next episode TV for me.
Right. How do I do this? So if I do, that works well, doesn't it?
Aye.
There we go.
So yeah, this is.
Be aware, guys. I'm going to be like this the rest of the fucking. I'm waiting for her to get me at some point.
I tell you what, though, when she comes in with a knife behind you, that's going to be real. Our views are going to go through the roof. So like last week, we're going to decide who gets to pick the next group watch, and as ever, it'll be elimination style. So if your name comes up, you ain't picking. So we ready for a spinnies?
Do it.
All right,
let's go. What do we pick? We just come up with what we want people to watch.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So you will pick what we all watch as a group.
Fucking hell, Jimmy, you were. You say last week.
I'm sorry. I don't know if I was. Because this looks familiar.
Oh, again.
Were you first out last week?
The rule.
Yeah, I think it was you then me, wasn't it? So we'll get to know whether this Will has a consistent spin on it. Right, let's go.
Spin the wheel, make a deal. Spin the wheel, make a deal. Ooh.
At least it gives you a week to forget it again, Jimmy, and we can spin it next week, and it can be like a whole new thing for you.
Next week.
So last one up, me or you, Lace? And unfortunately, I've got a horrible feeling I know what Lacey's going to pick if it comes up on him, but...
No, it's Seddon then. Seddon wins.
Oh God, I didn't know we were going to do this. So I haven't thought of anything. I tell you what, can I think over today? Then what I'll do is I'll let you guys know, but I'll put it on the Facebook group and on the Twitter what we'll be watching tomorrow. How about that?
That's fair.
Put it on there first, yeah. Announce it on there, said.
Because I must admit, I really wasn't expecting to win. I never win anything. Oh, you guys.
There we go. Excellent. Thank you for all of those thoughts and bringing some stuff to the table. A good chat. As always, I've got some bird news for you. Bird news.
I like that a little bit more than I should have, I think.
Okay, let's get this up. This is Scottish-based bird news. Glasgow, I believe. Was it Glasgow?
Glasgow.
Yes.
Smart.
Is Glasgow. So, okay. Here we go. Oh. Glasgow woman held hostage. Look at that. Held hostage by stalker swan who won't leave her alone. Siobhan went. Oh, go away. Siobhan went viral on TikTok after sharing a video of the angry bird who was stopping her from leaving her home. Now, we've established on numerous bird news that swans are quite vicious. This one seems quite docile to me. Although threatening in its intensity and its willingness to never give up its prey. A Scotswoman has gone viral after she posted a video of herself, as I say, being held hostage by a persistent swan who barricaded her doorstep. TikTok user Siobhan posted a clip of the angry bird who was stopping her from leaving her home. The mum of two from Glasgow showed the swan trying to come inside and even standing in front of her car as she tried to pull out of her driveway. The hilarious clip has raked up more than 47,000 views. It's like back to that Birdman when he's just walking about in his pants.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see how hilarious this is.
This is the society. Oh, look, it's kind of just...
You know what you want? It's
Size
you want
those
a buck
feet.
fast.
Yes.
You've got Bucky. Where's the Bucky?
Where's the video? There is a video. Where is it?
Or maybe it adds some buck. He's playing on the right hand side.
Here we go. Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. Let's go. All right. Click for sound. Let's maximize this. All right, hold on. Let's go back to the beginning.
Have you ever been held hostage by a swan before?
No.
What's your problem, big man? Just trying to stand at the door. As if that's normal.
Oh.
It's like a scene from Halloween, John Carpenter style, isn't it?
I'm watching you.
Excuse me, pal.
Fuck off.
I'm literally being held hostage by a
Where's my buck
swan.
fast?
Not literally.
Please, for the love of God.
License and registration, please.
By the way, listening to Britney Spears Toxic, so it should be judged harshly for that.
Yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
A suitable amount of F's and C's probably being bleeped out there for a Glaswegian.
That's Scots, yeah.
Yeah. I like the bit at the beginning.
Interesting. I mean, the swans.
Oh, sorry.
The swan is they're all owned by the Queen, aren't they?
Yep.
Yes, we've discussed this before, and it's illegal to kill them or something,
Or
isn't it?
COVID Queen.
Yeah.
Which
You
she
can't
owns
do
them all.
anything
Every
negative
swan
to
she
them.
owns.
Can't do anything negative to them.
Yeah. Well, someone said kill, but I can't imagine you're allowed to kind of cuff one round the head or something like that either if it's in the way of your car. Give it a cheeky spit up the arse to get it to move on. But I love that bit where it was outside, like not outside the door, not outside the car, but even when they were fully entrenched in the house, it was still patrolling backwards and forwards across their fences.
Yeah.
Many people are scared of swans, aren't they? Very scared. My friend Will, who listens to the show occasionally, he's terrified of swans. Terrified.
I avoid them. If like we're out for a walk in the country, I won't go near them because they always say, aren't they, that they're particularly aggressive if they've got young, and I don't know whether they've got young, so I just think let's just not go near them then.
Oh, absolutely. If I'm walking home at night from the pub and there's like 5 sort of swans on one side of the road, I'll always cross over.
Oh dear.
What, try and fight them?
No,
cross over the road to go at
Imagine
them.
trying to hit that tiny head. Imagine trying to hit that tiny head. I'm sure that's in an Adam Sandler film somewhere.
Yeah.
The and finally news. Who's brought this to the table?
I knocked it on there, but I purely knocked it on there because of my severe hatred of one of the people in it, and I anything to have a fucking dig at this prick.
No, I'm all over this. Let's bring this up. I like it when I haven't read the and finally news. It's a surprise for me as well. And finally, let's get rid of the bird news. And finally,
I love James Blunt.
James,
fucking hell, fuck off, Jimmy.
James Blunt's song deployed on protesters in New Zealand following Manilow and Macarena after the musician suggested using it. Frozen's Let It Go, Celine Dion's My Heart Will Go, oh my God, and My Heart Will Go On, and Barry Manilow's greatest hits have all been used to annoy protesters in New Zealand. However, demonstrators have responded with their own songs.
By the way, before we move too much further on, like that's harsh on Manilow's music, isn't it? Like everyone else just got like one song, and they went, "Oh, Manilow's shit. We'll get the greatest hits out for him."
But Seddon, this is why I love James Blunt, because James Blunt said, "Use my music." He knows what his music is. He gets a lot of shit on Twitter, and he goes, "Don't worry, I just go to YB and fuck birds. Don't worry about it." Like he knows his music is tried.
That makes it worse for me because he still produces it and it's still out there, and idiots still buy it. Yeah. This is almost like someone going, "I'm just going to steal from the stupid," and he's doing it, and he's doing it well, and that sickens me.
But he tells you as well.
Well, he doesn't tell me because I wouldn't buy fuck all of his, but he tells the idiots, yes, and still they buy it.
So Blunt is effective. He's saying, my music is shit. It's annoying. Use it.
So bad, people will leave places if you play it.
New Zealand authorities use me. Sharing story about the protesters being blasted with the sounds of Manila. He wrote, "Give me a shout if this doesn't work." At NZ Police.
And I'll record another few fucking songs for you. Probably an album, the prick.
A few hours later, it appeared his offer had been accepted, with the star's most famous hit, "You're Beautiful," being played over the loudspeaker. Although protesters seemed undeterred, however, singing other songs over the hit and dancing in the rain. So it backfired spectacularly because they enjoyed it. Sick bastards.
He's an ex-soldier as well, old James Blunt. He's a good chap, old Blunt.
Sold his sister on eBay or Twitter or something back in the day. I remember reading that or hearing that when he did Top Gear.
I'm sure that was probably Manson rather than James Blunt selling his sister on eBay.
No, he did.
That really doesn't sound like James Blunt.
He did it on. He said that about it on Top Gear. He sold his sister.
How much for?
As I say, did you get much for her? The sad thing is, though, is that like Jimmy leaned into him being all right because he's a soldier, and in talking earlier about soldier, it's now introduced to me a concept that there might be a day where Blunt, Robson, and Jerome do a trio.
Oh, yeah.
Music truly dies that day.
Imagine that.
That's like the
brilliant idea.
The thing is, now I've said it out loud, it's almost willing it into existence, isn't it? I'll have to take out all of my anger on myself because it will be my fault.
Oh, it's like the Holy Trinity.
I'll tell you something. He brought out a song a while ago, about his dad, his dad was dying at the time.
Was the song about his dad hating his music?
No, it was about his dad. And his dad is in the video, and his dad was dying at the time, and I found it very emotional.
Yeah,
ultimately,
I'd find
it die.
I'd find it emotional if I had to be in one of his fucking. I'm dying, and you're putting me in this. You're making me a figure of hate for the country.
I've just put in the WhatsApp about the James Blunt telling his sister story.
What's that? You say?
Hold on.
I like.
Does it need to go in the Facebook one so you can?
It's fine. It's fine. I can read it from the WhatsApp. Right, here we go. Blunt sells sister.
Lacey's made up story.
Lacey news.
Good old Blunt.
James Blunt sold his sister on eBay to get her to a funeral in Cork. What? Back in 2009, blah, 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 blah.
Oh my God, apparently he's got a fucking book out. How to become a complete and utter blunt. Die of a reluctant social media sensation.
That's a good title.
It is, but
he's funny. Blunt. He's funny. He is funny, Blunt.
I tell you what, I hope you and him are very fucking happy together in the depths of hell, which is where he's ending up for the musical atrocities.
I bet Blunt would wear that type of hat as well, wouldn't he?
He would, yeah.
That's a Blunt hat.
Yeah.
Only Blunts wear that hat. Okay, so after a big tour, James returned to the flat he shared with his sister to find her in floods of tears because she couldn't get to a funeral in Cork. Immediately, he came up with a solution. eBay! I put her on eBay as a damsel in distress who needed to get to Cork, and these men started bidding and bidding, and eventually a man with a helicopter won and got her to the funeral. That man is now married to her sister, making James the ultimate matchmaker.
That's a lovely story.
No, it's not a lovely story. Let's go back to the origins of this. He come back from his successful tour, so he's minted. His sister's upset that she can't get to Edinburgh. He sells her on eBay rather than paying for a fucking ticket for her to go somewhere.
It didn't say he came back from one of his big tours.
It did. It said big tour.
It
said big tour. It said big tour. It was in the story.
Yeah.
Right. Well, he's probably joking because he's a real joker.
He's a real cunt.
Right, that was episode 131.
Just to check, you haven't changed the outro music to James Blunt song, have you?
No, I haven't. No, I didn't have the
I
didn't have the foresight.
Well, no.
That was episode 131. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining me as always. If you enjoyed that, give us a like and subscribe as always, and stay abreast of all of our.
There might be something new tomorrow.
No.
If I bother, well, bother's the wrong term. If I get time, me and Mr. Lacey did a musical video reaction after our filming a comic book podcast the other day, and we that may go up, but this weekend.
Is it like one of those teenagers react?
Yes.
Millennials react.
Yes. I don't know what this is.
Miserable cunts react.
Renaissance reacts. Well, funny enough, we were actually weirdly jolly. I thought. Okay. I don't really understand, but yes. But the hope is that we've got a couple of them, but the hope is to get Jimmy and Stu onto some of these as well, and doing some. But yes, we had a bit of time the other night, and we're hoping to chuck that up tomorrow, hopefully.
Excellent stuff. New content.
And obviously, it'll be copyrighted into oblivion within a heartbeat. But
it sounds interesting. It sounds fun, and I really think it might be worth getting our mums to react to stuff. Lace, is your mum still with us?
I haven't spoken to her in 17 years.
That'd be an even better reaction, wouldn't it?
Just you calling her.
I don't know if she's alive. I don't know if she's dead. I don't care.
Okay.
Well, but to be honest, again, for the reaction video.
Just me and her coming and go, me and just go, fuck herself.
When you say getting our mums to react, you do realise that my mum would spend longer than I do speaking, but just going, is my camera on? Is my camera on?
It's like Jimmy.
Is my camera on? Yeah.
Can you hear me?
To a Friday night with me, yeah.
Can you hear me? Am I on?
Christ knows what my mum will say. Jesus Christ, but it could be funny. Like Old Lady's House in Always Sunny said.
Yes.
Just bizarre shit. See what they come out with.
Well, we have in the history, in the annals of time, there is a intro to one of the podcasts, isn't it? Where it's Mid's mother, isn't it?
Yeah, she makes an appearance.
She makes an appearance on an old school podcast. Very funny appearance as well.
Yeah. There we go. Well, I look forward to that, boys. Yes. Yeah. New content hitting all the time. So come join the fun. Come give us a subscription. Be nice. Right, until next week. All that's left for me to say is thank you for joining us. Please take care and goodbye.